About 4 strides, and I thought, well, I better try and get there.
Well, at that point you're through it, and Leicester's gone on the outside there.
That's right, and you're in front 2 out. It's a long way here, really, but I just let him idle for a little while, and then I thought, well, we better go. And he quickened up good. It's the first time he's really had a little bit of give in the ground. He's normally, all his races, he's run firm ground.
So he's won now over 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs and now a mile here.
5 first year, but he's an extraordinary horse. He's a June foal. I suppose that's what made. He's just 4 now. He's amazing. He's run here 4 times. He's won 3 and been second in the Victoria Cup.
And is it that he just loves the place, or do you think that he's a summer horse as well?
Yeah, possibly. You get some horses take to some tracks. It suits him. He doesn't go downhill very well, you know. We were running once, twice downhill. He doesn't seem to cope with that, but here he seems to manage all right.
Well, life really begins at 40 for you, Brian, because it's been, in many ways, your greatest year. Your first classic win, of course, was quick as lightning.
Yeah, very good. Not so good in the Oaks, but...
Well, what happened in the Oaks to her?
I don't know. I think she more or less had an off day as much as anything. She's a little bit of a madam, as you'd say. Nothing mean about her, but I think if things don't go right, she just decides that's it. No, I was gone 6 furlongs out in the Oaks, and I chased her down the hill, but when I looked up, there was VL in front of me running away, so I thought, well, can't get by that anyway. And they just went away from her. I don't think she didn't stay. I think Mr. Dunlop's going to put a pair of blinkers on her anyway. And...
Well, he does tomorrow in the Coronation Stakes, but sadly you don't ride her up there.
No, well, I can't complain, can I? Willie and Pat have got the choice of the rides and the job. Well, I don't mind being third if it comes to that. It's worked out all right up to now, hasn't it?
Well, Brian, this is a trophy obviously well worth winning. Have you got any more worthwhile rides at the meeting?
I ride a nice 2-year-old tomorrow in the Queen Mary, Welshwin. I think she's quite good. I wouldn't want any more, or a lot more rain for her, but no, she's not bad. A bit temperamental, but pretty good. Baronet, the handicapper's done him. Now he's got 10 stone, which with about 9.2 he would have had a fair chance, but 10 stone, it's a lot, isn't it?
Well, a great start to the meeting anyway. Guy Harwood made every yard of the running in the 1.5 mile King Edward VII Stakes, the Ascot Derby. Here's how he won that day.
They're coming to the 2 furlong mark. Elamanamu from Man of Vision. Lake City coming there on the far right of the picture in the sheepskin noseband. Hard Green is between he and Man of Vision, but it's Elamanamu in the lead from Prince of Vision in second. Then comes Hard Green, Man of Vision in second, then Hard Green, and then Lake City, and they're racing into the closing stages. And it's Elamanamu, the favourite, from Man of Vision in second, and Elamanamu is going to win it as they race up towards the line. Elamanamu is going to win the King Edward VII Stake, and at the line he wins it.
Elamanamu there winning comfortably in the hands of Greville Starkey. Back to 1.25 miles today, probably his best distance, but the ground might be something new for him. Anyway, he's one of competitive looking field for the Prince of Wales Stakes. Here now, the runners and riders.
Yes, 1 is Elamanamu, Willie Carson. 2, Fluellen, Brian Taylor. 5, R.B. Chesney, Joe Mercer. 6, River from France, Philippe Paquet. 7, Bold Theme, Pat Edery. 8, Hall Knight, Greville Starkey. 10, Bonnie Isle, Lester Pickett. 11, Playboy Jubilee, Philip Robinson. 14, Cracking Form, Richard Fox. And 15, Moomba Masquerade, written by Ernie Johnson. And here's how they're betting on our way to join John Hanmer.
With Elamanamu showing his favourite 3-1, Moomba Masquerade 4s, Hall Knight 9-2, Bonnie Isle 11-2, R.B. Chesney's 6-1, Cracking Form 8s, River 10-1, 16-1, Barley 7.
10, Patrick's Fair, Geordie Ramshaw. 12, Tom Strauss, Frank Morby. 13, Welsh Charter, Joe Mercer. 16, Just Amber, Brown.
Peter O'Sullivan calls this race.
Thank you, Jimmy. Just a whole night to go. Elamanamu 7-2, 11-2 bar. And that's it. They're all in store for the Prince of Wales Stakes under orders and away. And Moomba Masquerade with Bonnie Isle going on now, and Bonnie Isle and Lester Piggott making it a cracking gallop as they race down into Swindley Bottom. It's Bonnie Isle from Mumba Masquerade, and then comes Elamanamu, and then cracking form with R.B. Chesney on the inside, and then Whole Night and River behind them come Playboy Jubilee, Fluellen and Bow Theme, and they're past the mile marker. Bonnie Isle with about a 3-length advantage here from Mumba Masquerade, and then Elamanamu, and then cracking form, and then R.B. Chesney. Behind them River and Whole Night, and then comes Playboy Jubilee and Fluellen, and behind Fluellen and last is Bow Theme. Past the 7 furlong mark, and Bonnie Isle about 5 lengths clear of Mumba Masquerade in second. Elamanamu going easily in third, then cracking form. Behind cracking form is R.B. Chesney, River, Whole Night, behind Whole Night, Playboy Jubilee, and then Fluellen and Bow Theme, and they're past the 6 mark. And Bonnie Isle was still about a 5-length advantage over Mumba Masquerade. Elamanamu taking a little bit closer order, and then comes cracking form, and then R.B. Chesney. Behind them Whole Night, and then River, and then Playboy Jubilee, Fluellen and Bow Theme, and past the 5 marker now. And Bonnie Isle with only a length advantage now from Mumba Masquerade on the inside of Elamanamu, and then cracking form, and R.B. Chesney coming there strongly, and then comes Whole Night racing towards the home turn, and inside the final half mile in the Prince of Wales Stakes, and still Bonnie Isle in the lead from Elamanamu second, and cracking form third. Then comes Mumba Masquerade and R.B. Chesney and Whole Night, and they're rounding the turn now, and it's still Lester Piggott on Bonnie Isle in the lead from Willie Carson on Elamanamu. Poised just in behind him. Behind Elamanamu is cracking form, and then Mumba Masquerade, and then R.B. Chesney. 2.5 furlongs to run in the Prince of Wales Stakes, and it's Bonnie Isle being chased and pressed now by Elamanamu. Elamanamu and Bonnie Isle together now as they race towards the furlong pole. It's Bonnie Isle on the far side, Elamanamu taking the advantage now on the near side. Mumba Masquerade coming there strongly in third, and then comes Whole Night putting in a good round. But it's Elamanamu from Bonnie Isle on the far side. Bonnie Isle fighting back a bit, but Elamanamu with the advantage. Then comes Mumba Masquerade still finishing well as they race up towards the line. Willie Carson on Elamanamu from Bonnie Isle and Mumba Masquerade as they come to the line. Elamanamu wins it from Mumba Masquerade second, and Bonnie Isle third, and Whole Night 4-5 was Fluellen, and then came Playboy Jubilee and R.B. Chesney and cracking form and Bow Theme, and last was the French challenger River, and so the result of the Prince of Wales Stakes is first, number 1, Elamanamu, owned by Mr. Simon Weinstock, trained by Dick Hearn and ridden by Willie Carson. Second was number 15, Mumba Masquerade, owned by Mr. Robert Sangster, trained by Jeremy Hindley and ridden by Ernie Johnson. And third was number 10, Bonnie Isle, owned by Mr. Sandy Struthers, trained by John Dunlop and ridden by Lester Piggott. Fourth, number 8, Whole Night. Let's see them after the home turn in this Prince of Wales Stakes once again now with Julian Wilson.
Well, Lester made this a terrific gallop on Bonnie Isle. He slowed it down a bit before they came into the straight. He gave his mount a breather, and she kept running again. In fact, she went on running until the furlong. And Willie's loomed up in second place and close from half a mile out. And just for a moment, it wasn't going to be as easy as he hoped it was going to be. In fact, this filly was holding him for about a furlong here. Elamanamu's just about got in front, but Bonnie Isle still got some resources, and she's fought back like a really game filly. Mumba Masquerade, who was always in the first 3, finally pulled out by Ernie Johnson and's making a bit of ground now on the first 2 again. Whole Night's back in 4th place. But now finally Bonnie Isle has completely burst. She's given everything she can, and she loses 2nd place in the last few strides to Mumba Masquerade as Elamanamu forges relentlessly to the front on this ground, which probably suits him, in fact, a lot better than really fast ground. A good winner in the end.
Willie Carson on his 55th winner of the season. Dick Hearn with a 100% record now with this 4-year-old that he's trained since the beginning of this season, with whom he won at Newmarket in April, the Earl of Sefton Stakes, and now the Prince of Wales. Prince of Wales, the race inaugurated in 1968 to replace the Rouse Memorial Stakes. Winner of the 1979 King Edward VII Stakes, and Dick Hearn there, like his #1 jockey, enjoying a cracking season. It's Ronald Weinstock on the right, talking to Willie. Dick Hearn in the black topper. Be looking to win another derby. on Saturday week, the Irish Sweeps Derby, with either Prince B or Watermill. Meanwhile, he's won the Prince of Wales Stakes with the 130 favourite, Elamanamu. Place of the Royal Meeting, the Prince of Wales Stakes.
First, number 1, Elamanamu, 130 favourite. Second, number 15, Moomba Masquerade, 5-1. Third, number 10, Bonnie Isle, 6-1. First, number 1, Elamanamu, 130 favourite. Second, number 15, Moomba Masquerade, 5-1. Third, number 10, Bonnie Isle, 6-1. The jackpot number of the winner, 201.
Event of the afternoon, the St James's Palace Stakes. It's run for the first time in 30 years today, rather than last race on the card. Moved back to third race, and that's certainly good for you at home, because it looks like being one of the races of the meeting. The warm favourite looks sure to be Dalsan, but against him, and he's being tested by top-class opposition for the first time, are the horses who finished second, third and fourth in the Irish 2000 Guineas at the Curragh just 3 weeks ago.
Now, as they come towards the 3 furlong marker, Indian Lore is still in the lead out on this near side, with Monteverde improving, and also Current Charge over on the far side, Last Fandango, Nikolai over there on the far side too, and Johnny O'Day, and in the centre is Shugano and Posse coming through, and also, well, there is Final Straw beginning to make a move in along the inside as they race now to the final furlong and a half. It's Nikolai, Final Straw on the far side, Last Fandango, Posse out in the centre, Monteverde over on the near side, and as the race inside the final furlong, it's Posse on the near side. Over on the far side is Final Straw and Nikolai, and in the centre is Last Fandango. And as they go down to the post, it's a close thing. Nikolai has won it. In second place, Last Fandango, Final Straw, then Posse.
And Nikolai was, in fact, by a short head there from Last Fandango, Final Straw and Posse. Those are second, third and fourth are the horses who oppose, notably Dalsan today. 8 runners and riders in all, and they're named by Peter O'Sullivan.
2 is Bruffing, written by Paul Cook. 3, Cracador, Brian Taylor. 4, Dalsan, Lester Piggott. 5, Final Straw, Greville Starkey. 6, La Fontaine, Willie Carson. 7, Last Fandango, Steve Cawthon. 8, Marathon Gold, Joe Mercer. And 9, Posse, Pat Edry. And on our way to join him with Jimmy Lindley, here's how they're betting.
With Dalsan opening evens favourite. Last Fandango 7-2. Final Straw 11-2. Posse 6-1. Marathon Gold 12-1. 25-1 bar these.
There is Dalsan going into the stalls, ridden by Lester Piggott. 4 of them are in: Last Fandango, Cracador, Dalsan and La Fontaine. This is Bruffing just going in the yellow colours, and with the spots, Joe Mercer on Marathon Gold. The last 2 to go in. Now Final Straw, the last but one. Just needs a little bit of encouragement. Dalsan evens favourite, Last Fandango 7-2, 11-2 bar, over to Peter O'Sullivan.
Thank you, John. That's it. They're all installed for the St James's Palace. The white flag up, they're under orders and away, and Bruffing is very quickly away. Bruffing and Dalsan also, but Bruffing is going on. It's Bruffing from Dalsan, and then Cracador, La Fontaine, Last Fandango just in behind the leaders. They're past the 7 furlong mark, and it's Bruffing from Dalsan, Last Fandango, then Cracador and Final Straw, and La Fontaine, Marathon Gold and Posse. Bruffing in the lead from Dalsan, Paul Cook from Lester Piggott. Last Fandango is third, then comes Cracador. Final Straw is on the outside of Cracador and making ground, then comes Marathon Gold and Posse. La Fontaine has been relegated to last, and they're coming up towards the 5 marker. Bruffing in the lead from Dalsan, Final Straw, Last Fandango, then Posse on the outside of Cracador, and then Marathon Gold on the inside, and still going well. La Fontaine is last, under half a mile to run. Bruffing in the lead from Dalsan, then Last Fandango and Posse, and they're racing round into the home stretch now. Bruffing in the lead from Dalsan second, Last Fandango close third, Final Straw 4, Marathon Gold improving 5, 6 is Posse, 7 Cracador and 8 and Last La Fontaine. Turning for home now and swinging into the straight. Bruffing from Dalsan second, then comes Final Straw, and then Last Fandango, then Marathon Gold and Posse. They're coming up towards the 2 furlong mark. Bruffing being overtaken now by Dalsan. Dalsan being pressed though by Final Straw, and it's Dalsan and Final Straw now a little between the 2 as they race towards across the furlong pole. Dalsan on the far side, final straw on the near side. Posse coming there very strongly to challenge him. Final straw from Dalsan. Last Fandango over on the far side, Posse on the near side. And final straw has the advantage, but Posse coming to take it off him. And as they race up towards the line, Posse's going to win it. Posse's going to win it from final straw. At the line, Posse wins it. Final straw, second. Last Fandango, third. Dalsan disappointing, four. La Fontaine came next, then Marathon Golden Cracador, and finally Bruffing. And so the result of the St. James's Palace Stakes, first number 9, Posse, owned by Mr. Ogden Mills Phipps, trained by John Dunlop and ridden by Pat Edery. Second was number 5, Final Straw, owned by Mr. James Wigan, trained by Michael Stout and ridden by Greville Starkey. And third was number 7, Last Fandango, owned by Mr. Tony Sheed, trained by Barry Hills and ridden by Steve Cawthon. Well, what a way to lose a maiden allowance. Here's Posse's first success of his career, and in St. James's Palace at that. Here's how he won it as we review it with Julian Wilson.
Yes, and a super bit of race riding this by Pat Edery on a horse who was a doubtful stayer. At this point, Bruffing was still just in front, but challenged by Dalsan. And watch how Steve Cawthon gets into trouble on Last Fandango here. He's got nowhere to go. He looks for an opening between Bruffing and Dalsan, which doesn't immediately come. He's got daylight there as Bruffing drops away. But at this point, Final Straw has come to challenge his stable companion Dalsan and just hits the front. But Pat's still waiting behind these two. He's let them tug him into the final furlong, and only when they've got inside the final furlong does he pull Posse out and come with a run that sweeps into the front very, very close to the line. Almost 4 in line here. What a tremendous race, with Final Straw still just in front, but now headed by Posse, with Dalsan weakening in the last furlong, and Last Fandango with all the room in the world now on the rails, running on to snatch third place. But in the end, Posse's going away at the end. A really impressive winner of the St. James's Palace Stakes from Final Straw second and Last Fandango third.
Posse by Fawley. Been an unlucky horse really this season. Clearly had a very unlucky run in the English 2000 Guineas and beaten only half a length when fourth in the Irish 2000. Beautifully ridden race this by Pat Edery. In this coat, bred by his owner, Ogden Mills Phipps in America. One of a select little group of horses chosen by Tim Vigors to be trained in England by John Dunlop for Mr. Mills Phipps. Another cracking good run by Final Straw. What an honest, genuine coat this is. John Dunlop there. Talking to my colleague Michael Seeley. John in the light raincoat with several other powerful contenders at the meeting. North Leach in tomorrow's Hunt Cup.
The distances were 1.5 lengths and 3/4 of a length.
1.5 lengths and 3/4 of a length.
And the official time on the rain course was 1:44.747.
And the latest results.
First number 9, Posse, 11-2. Second number 5, Final Straw, 8-1. Third number 7, Last Fandango, 4-1. First number 9, Posse, 11-2. Second number 5, Final Straw, 8-1. Third number 7, Last Fandango, 4-1.
Tried to come with a run in between Lester Piggott, who is in front, and Bruffing. In fact, the incident happened just a few strides before we cut to it there. In fact, the daylight has now come. You can see Lester's in front just about here, and Dalsan one from the right. He's challenged by Final Straw and Greville Starkey, who's right on the right, and Pat Edery on just tracking the leader there, Final Straw, just about to make his move. And now Steve Cawthon's got all the room that he wants. The incident happened, in fact, about 2.5 furlongs out before before Bruffing weakened on the rails. And you can see the beautiful smooth run that Pat Eddery on the right has come with to head final straw and Dalsan well inside the final furlong, with Last Fandango in fact running on to be third. And that is the head-on coverage which would be used by the stewards in the event of any inquiry. Well, there was no need of an inquiry, and I'm pleased now to welcome the winning trainer, John Dunlop. Well, John, many congratulations, and that was a courageous decision to run Posse, because of course he's still a maiden.
Yes, it was. I suppose it was courageous, but it was the obvious race to run in rather than the Jersey. The St James's Palace obviously has much more prestige, and we'd finished very close to the leading lights, leading hopes in today's race, except for Dalsan, so we had to take him on again.
Yeah. You were confident that he'd get a mile in this quite soft ground?
Well, we only really thought of the Curragh. They didn't quite get the trip there, but I think it's a very stiff course there, and B, the ground was firm, and I think the combination of a bit of rain today and the turning mile, he was all right, and ridden this way, it made a different story.
Yeah. He was ridden slightly with more restraint than in his previous
very much. Well, it's so much easier to do it on a round course like this than to hold a horse up and cover him up on a straight course like Newmarket or the Curragh. And today, we decided before the day that we'd hold him up for a short, late run, and Pat Eddery rode him absolutely beautifully and produced him, as you saw, probably just about the furlong pole, I would think, and he did it very nicely.
How unlucky, in fact, was he in the 2,000 guineas at Newmarket?
Well, I think he was terribly unlucky. If one sees, I know you've all seen the film, so one's sick to death of it, but he was knocked back to nearly last at the bushes, about 2 furlongs to run, and he was beaten less than a length, so one has to feel he was somewhat unlucky.
What plans for him now?
Well, I think we obviously now have to take on the older sprinters, which is Chris, the milers, I would say, not sprinters, which is Chris primarily, and I would think the Sussex Stakes are a good one.
Well, your other good middle distance horse is, of course, Sea Chimes, who was originally to have run at the Royal Meeting and doesn't do so now, I gather.
No, he doesn't now. I originally, after Epsom, I decided not to run him here and keep him for the Eclipse, and he came back so well from Epsom that I had second thoughts and was going to run him here. And then, thinking further, and it's only a fortnight on from Saturday this week for the Eclipse, I would keep him fresh for that and make that his primary objective.
Well, Corals make the earlier winner this afternoon, Alamanamu, a 4-to-1 shot for the Eclipse. Would you be worried by him, having seen him won today?
Well, our old mare was third to him. She only beaten 2 lengths and 1. She is a useful mare, Bonnie Isle. I thought Alamanamu won very nicely, very smoothly. But he didn't quite get away from her as quickly as possibly Carson gave him an easy race. I don't know, but it'll be a good race.
And your other great filly, of course, is, having spoken about Bonnie Isle, is Quick as Lightning, who runs in the Coronation Stakes tomorrow. You're a bit disappointed with her at Epsom. I was most disappointed because she didn't appear to me to take any interest or any part in the race at any stage. One couldn't say she didn't stay, one couldn't say she wasn't suited by the track. She didn't really race or seem to want to race at any time in the contest. So we brought her back to a mile tomorrow, and she's wearing blinkers. And I just hope that'll sharpen her up and she'll reproduce her Newmarket form. Well, a great start to the meeting for you. Congratulations, Don, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Another realm, Philip Robinson. 2, Bolide. Willie Carson. 5, Cutthroat. Philip Waldron. Cutthroat blinkered. 7 is Hexgreave Star. Joe Mercer. 8, I'll See You. Brown Taylor. 9, Light Here. Wally Swinburne. 10, Lord Wimpy. Lester Piggott. 11, Master Thatch, Tony Murray. 12, Motivato, Steve Cawthon. 13, Plum Lane, John Mathias. 14, Queensbury Boy, Alan Bond. 16 rather, Recitation, Greville Starkey. I'll get that right in a moment. 15, Recitation, Greville Starkey. And 17, Tom the Traveller, ridden by Pat Eddery. And the first we see is Motivato and Leicester. Quoted joint favourite 6-4 by the Tote, with Willie Carson to be emerged champion jockey. They're all in the Coventry Stakes. They're under starters' orders. And they're away. Light Here breaks fast towards the right of the picture. Recitation also. Lord Wimpy's very fast away. Plum Lane in the centre, and Queensbury Boy also running fast. And it's Queensbury Boy in the centre now who's taken it up from I'll See You, then Recitation, then Light Here. Just in behind them come Master Thatch, Hexgreave Star on the outside. Queensbury Boy and I'll See You disputing it. Recitation very close to them, then Light Here towards the far right of the picture in the sheepskin noseband. Over on the far left is Hexgreave Star with Plum Lane just behind him. Queensbury Boy with Now I'll See You having taken it over from him. Then comes Recitation on the near side. Cutthroat is in between these two and waiting to deliver a challenge. Master Thatch over on the far side with Hexgreave Star. And now comes Motivato in the very center. Steve Cawthon delivering a powerful challenge, but Recitation has the advantage at the moment. It's Recitation with his white face showing in the lead from Motivato in second. Behind them come Belbaleed, Willie Carson, but it's Recitation striding away now inside the final furlong. Recitation from Motivato, then Belbaleed as they race up towards the line. Recitation is going to win the Coventry very easily indeed. Here's one for Greville-Starkey at the line. Recitation wins it. Motivato is second and Belbaleed third. Another Realm four, and behind them came Master Thatch and Hexgreave Star, Lord Wimpy and Tom the Traveller and Plum Lane and Cutthroat and Light Here. Behind Light Here was Queensbury Boy, the early leader, and another prominent early on but finished last, I'll See You. And so the result is first number 15, Recitation, owned by Mr. A.E. Bodie, trained by Guy Harwood and ridden by Greville-Starkey. Second was number 12, Motivato, owned by Mr. Robert Sangster, trained by Barry Hills and ridden by Steve Cawthon. And third was number 2, Belbaleed, owned by Mr. Caled Abdallah, trained by Jeremy Tree, ridden by Willie Carson. And fourth was number 1, Another Realm, and this was a very easy winner, signposted a very long way from home, this American-bred Recitation, quoted 20-1 immediately by Corals for next year's 2,000 guineas. Here's how he won the Coventry as we review it with Julian Wilson.
And a lot of these two-year-olds didn't get home, but the horse on the right with the white face really did. At this point on the far side, the Hexgreave Star still disputing it with Plum Lane right on the outside. And those two at halfway looked as though they'd be a danger. Master Thatch comes under strong pressure there from Tony Murray in the centre. But this is where Greville-Starkey lets his horse down and really races through to take the lead from Motivato, and the two of them have drawn clear within about 100 yards. And at this stage, Recitation goes well clear of his rival. A really impressive performance, because he's come from 5th or 6th below the distance to go 3-4 lengths clear of Motivato, and Motivato in turn is another 5 lengths clear of Belbaleed, who's raced through into 3rd place. So a lot of them, as I say, didn't get home, but Recitation got the trip well. He won really impressively, and interesting that Greville-Starkey brought him from the 15 draw over to the stand side. Motivato second and Belbaleed third.
First number 15, Recitation, 11-1. Second number 12, Motivato, 2-1 favourite. Third number 2, Belbaleed, 9-2. First 15, Recitation, 11-1. Second 12, Motivato, 2-1 favourite. Third 2, Belbaleed, 9-2. The Jack.
The second day of the Royal Meeting, and the weather greatly improved. It's still cool, but mercifully dry and likely to remain so. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Royal Hunt Cup Day at Ascot, with the news that such is the change in the climate that after a dry night, or relatively dry, just 0.01 of an inch of rain, the going remains officially good. And after a first day crowd of over 27,000 people, once again the enclosures are jam-packed. It was just 1,500 fewer people than last year, but still very close to the post-war record. And again the enclosures bursting, both with horse fanciers and with creatures of fashion. And not only in the enclosures, because beyond the post, some traditional carriages here in the old Eton and Harrow style at Lord's. And as well as the enclosures, there are several club tents. White's Club have a tent here, I believe, and also the Turf Club. Well, the Hunt Cup is the feature race. We're covering the first 4 races on the card today. We start at 2:30 with the Jersey Stakes over 7 furlongs, a field of 13 for that. At 3:05, the Queen Mary Stakes over 5 furlongs, and this really a terrifically competitive race. 17 runners, 14 of them are winners, and it includes a challenger from France in Ancient Regime. At 3:45, the Royal Hunt Cup over a mile, the traditional straight mile, cavalry charge, 22 runners lined across the course, and which has been the traditional lively anti-post market. And then at 4:20, the class race of the day, the Coronation Stakes for 3-year-old fillies. It's over the old mile, and it includes the winners of the English and Irish 1,000 guineas. And now I give you 3 non-runners. In the first race, number 9, 13 runners and riders for the Jersey Stakes. We hear now from Peter O'Sullivan.
1, Poil Crusher, Edward Hyde. 2, Snapper Point is Blinkert, Tony Murray. 3, Etoile de Paris, Pat Edery. 5, Hard Fort, Lester Piggott. 7, Abington, Brown Taylor. 10, Chrysippus, Greville Starkey. 11, Entre Fancy, Brian Rouse. 12, Irish Emperor, Robert Street. 14, Suavity, Joe Mercer. 15, Sunfield, John Reed. 17, Luck of the Draw, Blinkert, written by Willie Carson. 18, Ringer Woody, George McGrath. And 21 is Pikestaff, written by Paul Cook. And the first we see is Hard Fort, the partner, the mount of Lester Piggott, as we join Jimmy Lindley.
Thank you, Peter, and looking very well, as you see him there, really gleaming in the sunshine. Hard Fort is a last start winner. That was when winning the John O'Gaunt Stakes at Haydock, beating Godsmark by 2 lengths. As you saw just now on that little bit of video, in the last half a furlong, he was just beginning to wander about a little bit, but after Mark Birch got him down to his job, he straightened up and did it well. Well, Michael Stout's got him looking really well, and as you see, what a lovely horse he is. A really deep-bodied colt, a little bit short on the leg, but very, very strong through the quarters. Number 5, Hard Fort.
They're all in, so let's join Peter O'Sullivan.
Yes, they're all in, John. Understarters orders, and they're away. Fast break on the outside by Entre Fancy. Etoile de Paris breaks fast in the centre, and all coming over towards the stand side, led by Etoile de Paris. Etoile de Paris from Suavity up there too. Ringer Woody is not far behind him, nor is Sunfield. Poil Crusher towards the far right of the picture, but Etoile de Paris, that is the light colours with the dark sleeves, in the lead from Suavity. Suavity in the hoops right up there is Ringer Woody too. Then Poil Crusher just in behind them, Sunfield. Then Luck of the Draw. Entre Fancy over on the far side being tracked by Hard Fort. Hard Fort, though, got quite a lot to do at the moment as they pass the 4 furlong pole. Etoile de Paris in the lead from Ringer Woody and Suavity, Entre Fancy and Poil Crusher, and Sunfield poised just in behind him, and then comes Abington. Behind Abington is Luck of the Draw. Behind Luck of the Draw is Hard Fort. They're coming down towards the 2 furlong pole in the Jersey Stakes, and it's still Etoile de Paris, Poil Crusher, Ringer Woody, Suavity, Luck of the Draw, Entre Fancy, Hard Fort just in behind them. Chrysippus and Sunfield come next. Snapper Point's under pressure, so is Irish Emperor. They're coming down to the furlong pole. Etoile de Paris being pressed now by Sunfield, Ringer Woody, Suavity, Luck of the Draw over on the far side, and here comes Leicester unleashing a run on Hard Fort over on the far side. It's Etoile de Paris on the near side from Sunfield. Hard Fort under strong pressure on the far side. Sunfield has taken it up now, being pressed by Hard Fort as they come up towards the line. Number 1 for Leicester here. Hard Fort has won it from Sunfield in second, Etoile de Paris third. Fourth was Luck of the Draw, and then came Suavity and Chrysippus and Abington, and behind them Ringer Woody, and then Snapper Point and Irish Emperor and Poil Crusher and Pikestaff, and behind Pikestaff and last was Entre Fancy. And so the Jersey Stakes has been won by number 5, Hard Fort, owned by Mr. Brooke Holliday, trained by Michael Stout and written by Lester Piggott. Second was number 15, Sunfield, owned by Mr. George Ward, trained by Fulk Johnson Horton and written by John Reed. And third was number 3, Etoile de Paris, owned by Mr. Christopher Gainsford St. Lawrence, trained by Michael Cornson Ireland and written by Pat Edery. Fourth was number 17, Luck of the Draw. So number 1 for Lester Piggott here. What a beautifully timed challenge on this horse that has to be held up. Just have another look at this now with Julian Wilson.
He was cruising behind the leaders at halfway until he moved up on the outside, made his challenge on the outsiders. Up until then, Etoile de Paris had just about led on the stand side. Still just waiting, poised to strike Leicester, tracking Willie Carson on Luck of the Draw before he pulls his mount round and makes his challenge on the wide outside. Sunfields comes through with a good run, one off the rails here, and for a moment looked a very serious danger indeed. But here's where Leicester's made his move, and if this horse has one weakness, it is that he tends to hang to the left under pressure, and as Leicester comes to hit the front here, Sunfield in fact has hit the front just about at this point, and Leicester's had to go for his whip, and as he does so his mount swerves in front, or hangs slightly in front of Luck of the Draw and Willie Carson. There wasn't any interference there because he was clear at the time, but you can see that he has come over towards the stand rails, but he's drawn away, in fact quickly gone 3 or 4 lengths clear of the horses behind. He's won nicely in the end by about half a length from Sunfield, who's run a terrific race. Etoile de Paris third and Luck of the Draw fourth.
Hard Fort, bred by the Cleeboy stud. It's by Habitat out of an L-seed mare, Ambrosia. And the 15-8 favorite, very heavily backed favourite ultimately. Been 5-2 early on. First Jersey Stakes winner for Leicester since he won it in 1975 on Vincent O'Brien trained Gay Fandango. First he ever won was back in 1961 on the Sunil Merlis trained Favorita. Also won it for Sunil in 63 on the Creditor. Beautifully ridden race this, and nice compensation to Michael Stout for the disappointing run of Dalsan. Surely ran a little bit below his best, I think, yesterday.
That's number 5, Hard Fought, 15-8 favourite. Second, number 15, Sunfield, 14-1. Third, number 3, Etoile de Paris, 16-1. 13 ran, the non-runner was number 9, Charming Native. Won by number 5, Hard Fought, 15-8 favourite. Second, 15, Sunfield, 14-1. Third, number 3, Etoile de Paris, 16-1.
A Hard Fought, who made his challenge on the outside of the field, remember, possibly hung a little bit left. You can see Leicester just tucked in behind Willie Carson in the pale colours, one from the left there. Hard Fought, riding a beautiful race, not wanting to show his mount the front too soon because this horse has a slight tendency to hang to the left. At this point, one from the right, Etoile de Paris, is just about still in front, and John Reed going really comfortably in the pale colours and the pale blue spots on Sunfield. Willie Carson on the outside now heads the horse just upside of him, and this is where Leicester pulls his mount round a luck of the draw to come and make his challenge. And this horse can be a little bit left-handed. He's a horse ideally that a jockey would perhaps be well advised in a tight situation to have his whip in his left hand on. And you can see the moment Leicester shows him his whip, his tendency is just to drift away to the left. But luckily, luck of the draw and Willie Carson are beaten here, and as Leicester comes across, there's a good length, a length and a half between him and Willie Carson, so there's no interference. But you can see the way that he has come across, and having got across to Sunfield, who's his danger now, Leicester's put his whip down. He's kept him running straight for the last few yards of the race, and as I say, there's no question of interference. But if luck of the draw had been a little bit closer, that could have been an incident which the stewards might have wished to have looked at. Coming into the straight, Belle d'Avril was the leader from Paranet, Licara, Benicia, Ariane and Mrs. Penny, and about 6th place at this point, and that's her with a noseband just in the centre of the field.
Yes, I lost her at this stage completely. Ah, yeah, you can see her switch now. Just a very narrow gap, and Leicester sort of hands and heels only at this stage to guide her through the gap, I felt. At this point, I thought she was sure to win. You know, she looked to be going terribly well, and then suddenly we saw this Ariane flying on the outside, and just for a moment she looked sure to beat us. But Leicester at his strongest, really, there. It's pretty close, but we were stood 50, 60 yards beyond the post, and by the time they got to us, Mrs. Penny was a good half length in front, so in fact I had no doubt that she had won. But certainly when Ariane started her run, it looked as if it was going to be very close indeed.
Sure, it's there. Jimmy Lindley's got a fancy for a Welsh win. I think that a filly who could possibly chase up Nassim is a filly we saw win the Cucumber Stakes at Kempton Goodwood about 3 weeks ago, Stats Emma. That was the race, in fact, which Jimmy's Choice Welsh win burst out of the stalls beforehand. But this time, after running a little bit green earlier, the filly produced a terrific turn of foot to win.
Down towards the 2 furlong pole. Heavenly Valley in the sheepskin noseband, Sincerely Mills in the centre, and on the near side it's Stats Emma. Then comes Owl's Cling and Bellicosa. They're well inside the final 2 furlongs. Heavenly Valley being pressed by Stats Emma on the near side, and it's Stats Emma now from Heavenly Valley, then Sincerely Mills and Bellicosa and Owl's Cling as they race into the closing stages. Stats Emma and Brown Taylor going away from Heavenly Valley, then Sincerely Mills and Bellicosa and Owl's Cling as they race to the line. Stats Emma's going to win this comfortably as they come to the line. Stats Emma wins it.
Stats Emma, a good winner there, but she's got 16 really tough rivals in the Queen Mary, and they're named now by Peter.
1 is Ancient Regime, written by Maurice Philippe Perron. 2 is Arridge, written by Willie Carson. 3, Ash Brittle, Greville Starkey. 4, Bold Wood, Tony Murray. 5, Gandora, Tony Ives. 8, La Bista, Edward Hyde. 10, Nazim, John Reed. 11, Pushy, Joe Mercer. 12, Queen of Prussia, John Matthias. 14, Rising Tide, Pat Edery. 15, Stats Emma, Brian Taylor. 16, Sterridge Valley, John Lowe. 19, Sybaris, Steve Cawthon. 20, Think Ahead, Paul Cook. 21, Unashamed, Philip Waldron. 22, Vienna Miss, Lester Piggott. And 23, Welsh Win, written by Brian Ross. Those are the 17 runners. We join them in the paddock, this time with John Handler. Ash Brittle, one of the first to show on the stand side. It's Ash Brittle and Ancient Regime with Queen of Prussia right up with them. Over on the far side, La Vista showing speed, and Vienna Miss in the center running very fast too. Ash Brittle on the near side from Ancient Regime. In the center over on the far side is Vienna Miss with Welsh Win right up with her, and also La Vista. Just behind them come Nazim, and then comes Think Ahead just behind them. But on the near side now, Stats Emma has come to take it up. Vienna Miss in the center, Stats Emma on the near side, Nazim between horses, Welsh Win on the far side with Pushy putting in a good run too. And it's Vienna Miss now from Nazim, Welsh Win and Pushy as they come down to the furlong pole, and putting in a very good run is Ancient Regime on the near side. Vienna Miss weakening. Over on the far side, Welsh Win and Pushy now. Ancient Regime coming there strongly on the near side. It's Pushy on the far side, just in the lead from Welsh Win with Ancient Regime. It's Pushy in the lead as they come up towards the line. Pushy's going to win it. At the line, Pushy wins it from Welsh Win. Nazim is third. Then comes Ancient Regime and Stats Emma and Vienna Miss, and behind them Queen of Prussia, and behind them Sybaris and Norwegian Gandura, behind them Rising Tide, and looking back to last place it was Sterridge Valley. And so the result of the Queen Mary is first, number 11, Pushy, owned by Lord Tavistock, trained by Henry Cecil, and number 1 of the meeting now for Joe Mercer, the champion jockey. Second was number 23, Welsh Win, owned by Mr. E. Hill, trained by John Benstead and written by Brian Rouse. And third was number 10, Nazim, owned by His Highness the Aga Khan, trained by Fulk Johnson Horton and written by John Reed. I say that, but in fact it was a photo finish for third place. A photo for third officially, but no doubt about the 1-2 that Pushy has won, as we can review with Julian Wilson.
Yes, and she won it well, but a surprising race by Nassim, who showed early speed. That's her towards the right with a white face. Showed early speed, dropped out, but then ran on again at the end. At this point, La Vista on the outside, disputing it or just starting to drop out as Pushy moves towards the to the front and disputes it with Welsh Win. Those two towards the outside. At this point, Ancient Regime, right on the right as we look at them, starts her run. And Nazim, coming under pressure now from John Reed, starts running on again. Weakening under pressure there is Stats Emma. At the furlong marker, it's Pushy and Welsh Win in the centre of the course, head and head almost, with Ancient Regime moving into third place. And Nazim just starting still to run on again, but seeming to run almost in snatches. And this is where Joe Mercer drives Pushy clear, goes clear of Welsh Win, with Ancient Regime still making ground, but Nazim finishing in fact as well as anything and looking as though she's ready for 6 furlongs now. But Pushy, gaining a first success at the Royal Meeting for Joe Mercer, has it by a couple of lengths from Welsh Win second. Nazim certainly looks to be third, and Ancient Regime fourth.
Queen Mary first, number 11, Pushy, owned by Lord Tavistock, trained by Henry Cecil and written by Joe Mercer. Second was number 23, Welsh Win, owned by Mr. E.R. Hill and Colonel Sir Douglas Clegg in partnership, trained by John Benstead and written by Brian Rouse. Third, in a photo finish, was the Aga Khan's Nazim, trained by Fulk Johnson Horton and written by John Reed. And fourth, the challenger from France, Ancient Regime.
Pushy, 7-1. Second, number 23, Welsh Win, 15-2. Third, number 10, Nazim, 5-2 favourite.
Race 1, John Dunlop in 1973 when Camouflage won. Today his runner is Northleach, a horse who showed most of the qualities needed for this race when he won the Newbury Spring Cup in the spring.
Still making progress just in behind the leaders, coming down to the 2 furlong mark, and it's Smart Set from Lucky Man, Wackad producing a run, Northleach and Willie Carson making good progress now, then Mars Marvel, and then on the near side Darwood. They're coming down to the furlong pole, and it's Smart Set being challenged now by Northleach. Northleach now coming to challenge Smart Set, Willie Carson and John Reed, and it's Willie Carson who takes it up now on Northleach, and Northleach streaking into the lead now as they race into the closing stages. Is being chased up to the line by Piaffa, but Northleach just holds Piaffa on the line in a photo. Northleach and Piaffa in a photo, but for me, Northleach has just won it.
Northleach hanging on there to win by a short head, with 6 other of today's rivals behind him there. And amongst those 6 rivals was Double Meaning. And Coral's report that Double Meaning was back to win £40,000 this morning, from 50 to 1 down to 20 to 1. A really big gamble from this rank outsider. 22 runners in all for the 1980 Royal Hunt Cup, and they're named now by Peter O'Sullivan.
1 is Lord Rochford, Walter Swinburne. 2 Baronet, Brown Rouse. 3 Darwood, Pat Edery. 4 Old Stock, Greville Starkey. 7 Joe Legg, Steve Cawthon. 8 Fine Blue, Paul Cook. 9 Golden Elder, Tony Murray. 10 Bold Owl, Brown Taylor. 11 Ringit, Lester Pickett. 12 Smart Set, John Reed. 13 Northleach, Willie Carson. 14 Double Meaning, Ray Cochrane. 15 Tender Heart, Joe Mercer. 17 Albury Festival, John Lowe. 18 Iron Lad, Philip Waldron. 19 Blue Bridge, Philip Robinson. 20 King's Ride, George Duffield. 21 Skin Deep, Trevor Rogers. 22 Conflict, Blinkard, Paul Cahoon. 24 Chaplin's Nightclub, Robert Curran. 25 Dromeps, Mark Rimmer. And 26 Tug of Love, Ernie Johnson. And the first we see is number 13 Northleach, as we join this time in the paddock John Hanmer.
Northleach is a very good handicapper. He's won 11 times, 6 of them last season. His 1 win this year was in the race we've just seen on video, the Newbury Spring Cup, when he held off the fast-finishing Piaffa by a short head. In his most recent race, he was just beaten by Lord Rochford at Lingfield, but he enjoys a £7 pull in the weights for that. Sure to be one of the favourites, number 13, Northleach, the mount of Willie Carson. A lot of the 22 runners are in the paddock. Northleach has been one of the anti-post favourites with Tender Heart. They're the 2 that have attracted most support, though Julian has just told us that Double Meaning has come down from 50 to 1 right down to 20 to 1. Number 21 is Skin Deep. Skin Deep, trained by Anthony Johnson at Lambourne. Formerly trained in Ireland, he won quite a few times over there. He's won 9 times in all, and last time out at Kempton beat Intercraft Boy by 2 lengths. And Intercraft Boy went on to win at the Epsom Derby meeting, so that form was enhanced, and Skin Deep by no means out of it. And the mount of Trevor Rogers, who's had a very successful last couple of weeks. Number 21, Skin Deep. Number 15 is the next one we're going to look at, Tender Heart. Tender Heart, trained by John Sutcliffe, who's won this race twice before. He ran well at Kempton last time out, finishing 4th to Houseguard, but when Houseguard was disqualified, he was promoted to 3rd place when the race was awarded to Blue Refrain. He went off at a tremendous gallop that day, and I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Mercer, who won the last race on Pushy, rides him from further behind today. He's a winner 4 times in all, and a very good horse on his day. That's Tender Heart, number 15, but he's drawn 21 of the 22, which may not be a very good draw. Northleach, 11 to 2 favourite, Tender Heart, 6 to 1 second favourite, and 8 to 1 bar the 2. Number 20 is King's Ride, winner of this year's Lincoln. King's Ride, trained by Bill Whiteman, and a winner 3 times in all. He's run twice since his Lincoln win, both times over 1.25 miles. He ran in the City and Suburban at Epsom, won by Sea Chimes, and also again against Sea Chimes at Doncaster when he finished 3rd. But the firm ground on both those occasions did not suit him. The ground certainly isn't firm here, and so he's bound to attract plenty of support. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 3rd or 4th favourite, or maybe even less. And he's ridden today by George Duffield. Number 4 is Old Stock. Old Stock, the mount of Greville Starkey. He's won 3 times this colt. He's never won over this distance of 1 mile. He was much fancied for the Britannia Stakes at the Royal Meeting last year. That's a mile race for 3-year-olds, but after looking to have a first-class chance 2 furlongs out, he failed to stay the trip, and he won shortly after that over 7 furlongs at Haydock. But he's bigger and stronger this year, so he should last out the mile. He finished last time out behind Silly's Night at Newmarket, but that wasn't his form at all, and he'd run much better before that at Ascot, when third to Kampala and Blue Refrain in the Victoria Cup. And you won't see a better looking horse in the field. Number 12 is Smart Set, who won last year's Cambridgeshire, very unusually for that competitive handicap, making all the running. And he was fancied for this year's Lincoln, but ran a little disappointingly behind King's Ride, but then he took on North Leach in the Newbury Spring Cup, and he was in the lead until the last furlong there, as we saw on that piece of film earlier, and wasn't run out of it until the last 150 yards. So you're sure to get a run for your money if you fancy this horse, number 12, Smart Set, but let's have a show of betting.
John, that's one of 5 12-to-1 shots at the moment. Smart Set. Favourite North Leach 11-2, Tender Heart 6-1, King's Ride 8-1, Darwood, Joe Leg, Old Stock, Ring It, and Smart Set all 12-1, 14-1 bar these 8.
And this is the horse that's come down from 50-1 to about 20-1, Double Meaning, trained by Alan Bailey, who's in his first season's training. This horse was previously trained by Henry Cecil and won a couple of races last season. He's quite high in the weights. He's had 4 runs this season against good company, and he's been running steadily a little bit better each time. He's ridden by Ray Cochrane, who claims the £5 allowance, well drawn at number 4 at 14, Double Meaning. There's a big crowd round the paddock. The jockeys are already in the ring, and there's nearly 10 minutes to go, but they'll set off for the start quite early because they have to go the full distance of a mile to get there. Number 7, the last one of that little group, is Joe Leg. This is a horse I like very much because he's a very genuine horse. He's been running over longer trips. He's been placed in all his 4 races this season. He normally front runs, but whether he'll be able to do that over the shorter trip of a mile, I wouldn't be sure. He was second to Sea Chimes in the City and Suburban Handicap at Epsom, and more recently finished third on the same course behind Sacrilege and Dasman at Epsom on Derby Day, beaten by only a head and a neck. He usually makes the running, and he comes again strongly when he's headed. A really good horse trained by Barry Hills, and Steve Coulson just had the mount, and he's drawn 1. So if he can get out, go with the leaders, he'll have the favoured stands rail. 14, Double Meaning, being followed by number 11, Ring It. Ring It, the mount of Lester Piggott, because Leicester's intended mount, Imperial Ace, doesn't run. Ring It's had a really successful season, starting at Cannes-sur-Mer early on. He's won 5 times this year, and he won once as a 3-year-old last season and once as a 2-year-old the season before. He's on a hat-trick, having won his last 2 races at Kempton and Yarmouth, and carrying no less than 10 stone 5 at Yarmouth. That's number 11, Ring It, drawn 2. Number 2 is Baronet, ridden by Brian Rice. Baronet, winner of the Cambridgeshire the season before last, so we've got the last 2 Cambridgeshire winners in the field, Smart Set and Baronet. And he won first time out this year at Kempton, catching Sans Fils in the last furlong. Brian Rice said in his interview with Julian Wilson yesterday that he thought this horse would go very well if he had about £10 less to carry, but the handicap has set him a stiff task because of his fine record, giving him 10 stone. Number 3 is Darwood, ridden by Pat Edry. Darwood's finished behind North Leach, but he has a pull in the weights for that. He was 4th when North Leach was 2nd to Imperial Ace at Sandown. He was also 3rd to North Leach in the Newbury Spring Cup. Not beaten far at all in that blanket finish, and at the weights he should finish fairly close to where North Leach does. Number 1, Lord Rochford, the horse who beat North Leach at Lingfield last time out, but he's £7 worse off. And Walter Swinburne, who rode him that day, rode a perfect race because Lord Rochford needs to be held up for a late run, and Walter timed it to perfection. Northleach and Tender Heart now 6-1 joint favourites. Not really very good prices with 22 runners, most of whom hold a chance of some sort. King's Ride 10-1 from 8-1, slipping out a couple of points. Number 22 is Conflict, who improved a lot towards the end of last season, winning his last 3 races, all in the north. 2 at Teesside and 1 at Haydock, and he won up in Scotland this year in April, beating Copper Tinsel by 3 lengths, but since then he's been beaten by Smith Seal at Stockton, finishing 5th. Although he's trained at Newmarket, he seems to spend a lot of time in the north. That's number 22, Conflict, drawn the far side of the course, 22. Number 25 is Dromefs, trained by Gavin Pritchard-Gordon and ridden by Mark Rimmer. Dromefs has won 3 times, all of them on firm going. He won earlier this season over a mile at Newmarket, and last time out finished 3rd to Carlisle at Yarmouth. That was a fortnight ago. Number 10 down at the start is Bold Owl. He's run only once this season, finishing last of the 9 runners behind Imperial Ace at Sandown at the end of last month. But he's a very good horse indeed at his best. He won at Pontefract and Haydock last season. Old stock 14-1 from 12-1. This is Golden Elder, number 9. Golden Elder was very unlucky in the Victoria Cup, won by Kampala. He seemed to be full of running and was denied an opening a few times. And he confirmed that impression next time at Lingfield, when beating a very good field. Hadfan finished 2nd, and he's won since. And Aldeburgh Festival, one of today's runners, finished 4th. But Golden Elder was a bit disappointing more recently, again at Lingfield in the race won by Lord Rochford from Northleach. And he'll have to run better here if he's to reverse the placings with those 2. We've now got a show of betting and a couple of results with tote returns.
Yes, John, from what you were saying, perhaps that's why Golden Elder's not showing in the betting at the moment. Northleach 6-1 with Tender Heart, King's Ride 10-1, Ring It 12s, Darwood, Joe Leg, Old Stock, Smart Set, Aldeburgh Festival and Blue Bridge all 14-1, 20-1 bar these 10. Now we have a result with the tote, the 3-5 at Ascot. First number 11 Pushy 7-1, second number 23 Welshwin 15-2, third number 10 Nassim 5-2 favourite. The win tote 48 pence, the places 17 pence, 28 pence and 18 pence. Computer straight forecast £6.53, dual forecast £1.71. And at Beverley 315, first number 7 Chainik 10-1, second number 8 Elizabeth Jane 14-1, third number 22 Power Love 12-1. The win tote £1.05. The places 27 pence, 91 pence and 61 pence. Computer straight forecast £14.24, dual forecast 31 pence.
Number 24 is Chaplin's Nightclub, the mount of Bob Currant. Chaplin's Nightclub's won once, first time out this season at Warwick, over a mile on soft going. And he ran a good race at Chester in the D Stakes, finishing 4th to Playboy Jubilee. And last time out he was 4th to Changabang in a hot handicap at Thirsk. In the background there I can see Walter Swinburne having got off Lord Rochford. Lord Rochford being set to carry 10 stone 7, the top weight for this race. Walter can claim £3, reducing the weight to 10 stone 4. But that's still an awful lot of weight to carry. Pat Henry is also dismounted from Darwood, number 3. There's another one. He's got a hefty burden. He's got 9 stone 10 to carry. Well, I've had a good look at most of the runners for this race. They're all down at the start, so let's join Jimmy Lindley.
Thank you, John. And the Hunt Cup run over a mile, and is always one of the hardest races to find a winner of here at Royal Ascot. In the old days, in fact, a trainer would have sooner have won this race. This is going back a fair few years, and perhaps he would have win the Queen Mary or the Coventry or any of those races. People thought that it was a lot more skill to win this race than any of those others. There's the great Lester Piggott on Ringgit, and as John says, a chance ride for Leicester here because he switched mounts at the last moment, and nobody knows their way around Ascot or up this straight mile at Ascot better than Leicester. Northleach and Tender Heart are now joint favourites at 13-2. But let's have a look at Tender Heart. John told you all about him in the paddock. Well, John Sutcliffe, his trainers, brought him along. Really, I think, timing him for this race here, and as you see there, he looks a horse with a real edge on. He ran a super race at Kempton in the Jubilee. He was third to the disqualified House Guard. But as you see there, he's got plenty of condition on those quarters, and showing super form at the moment. He's looking for his 36th winner of the year. I thought he rode a good race on Pushful, or Pushy, I should say. He really nursed her along in the first 3 or 4 furlongs and produced her just at the right time, and what a useful filly she should grow into. There's Steve Cawthon just walking to the right of our picture on Joe Leg. (14) just walking to the right. I thought that a lot of these horses looked well, and Barry Hills has made a good job with Joe Leg, but as John was telling you, he's a horse that usually likes to bowl along in front. Well, that's a very hard thing to do here at Ascot up this straight mile, but he's drawn 1, so he's pretty well drawn, and he will have the rail to race up, and perhaps he might just get left alone there, and Steve might be able to nurse him along somewhere near the front rank. Let's have a show betting.
Now we have joint favourites, Jimmy. 13-2 Northleach and Tender Heart. King's Ride 10-1. Ringgit 12s with Joe Leg and Smart Set. Old Stock 14-1 with Darwood, Aldborough Festival and Blue Bridge. Double Meaning come in from 20s to 18. 20-1 now, bar these 11.
Always a good gallop in this race, because many of the lightweights hope to make the weight tell on the top weight. As John was telling you, Lord Rochford has plenty of weight to carry. And I always think this is Tug of Love, number 26. He's been running over 6 furlongs. I saw him run at Newmarket earlier on in the season, and he ran a little free that day, and he's a horse that has to be tucked up early on in his races, and he might find the mile a little bit testing for him today. Walks into the stalls nicely. Tug of Love drawn 3 and ridden by Ernie Johnson. Joe Leg, Steve Cawthon on. Walks in nicely. He's gone into the number 1 box. Darwood goes into the number 6. Roadstock nicely into his stalls, trained by Guy Harwood at Pulborough, and Guy Harwood's horse is really running in top form at the moment. There's Fine Blue. He's a winner of 12 races, in fact, so Fine Blue, now 7 years old, a pretty seasoned campaigner. That's another thing you want in a race like this. A horse wants to have full confidence, and sometimes you can get a bit of a rough passage over the first 4 or 5 furlongs, and the more experience a horse has got, the more energy he can conserve. If you get a young horse that gets a bit of a rough ride, gets a bit of a buffeting, then it takes quite a lot out of him. There's Northleach just going in. Northleach, he is a seasoned campaigner. He looks pretty well into at the weights. He's got Willie Carson in the saddle. And there is Concord, winging her way out of London Airport. And I wonder if they're on their first Martinez yet. And there's a rather lovely picture of the Ascot stands and the Ascot crowds here to watch this really super day's racing today. That's where the start of this straight mile is down at the Golden Gates for this very competitive Hunt Cup this year. There you see the recall man with his flag, just in case they do have a forced start. North Leach, 6-1 favourite. Tender Heart, 13-2, and they go 10-1 bar. And reflecting on that betting, it just shows you how open this race is. And there's the top weight. Just about to go in with Walter Swinburne. Well, I think most of the runners in. Let's join Peter O'Sullivan.
Yes, that's it. They're all installed for the Hunt Cup. The white flag just about to be raised. Joe Legg 11-1 from 12s. It's up and they're away, and Joe Legg in fact is one of the first to break. Joe Legg on the stand side. On the far right of the picture, in fact, as we see them, Steve Cawthon with Ring It not far behind him. And over on the far side, Smart Set running very fast indeed towards the far left of the picture. Smart Set, Aldborough Festival coming over from the far group towards the center group. They've split now completely into three separate groups. Bold Owl's leading the middle group, Smart Set is leading the far group, and Ring It is leading the group on the right of the picture on the stand side. It's Ring It from Darwood and Old Stock on the near side, Bold Owl in the center. Over on the far side, Smart Set. So Joe Legg, Old Stock and Ring It on the near side, Smart Set on the far side, Bold Owl in the center. Joe Legg still on the near side from Ring It. Right up there with them is Tug of Love. In the center, it's Bold Owl with, over on the far side, Smart Set. Also well in the picture is Blue Bridge towards the center of the course, but it's Joe Legg still on the right of the picture. Bold Owl coming there strongly is Arn Ladd in between Bold Owl and Smart Set. Then comes Baronet. Blue Bridge holding his position. Joe Legg being chased now by North Leach. Old Stock on the near side. Smart Set and Arn Ladd now with the advantage from Joe Legg. Then Blue Bridge. North Leach coming there strongly now on the stand side. Willie Carson. Tender Heart on the far side. Joe Mercer. Baronet on the far side. Brown Rouse. It's Tender Heart now on the far side from Smart Set on the near side. Tender Heart and Joe Mercer in the lead as they race up towards the line. It's Tender Heart from Smart Set and Lord Rochford finishing well, but Tender Heart's going to win it well at the line. Tender Heart wins it. Lord Rochford second. Smart Set is third and four Lord Rochford, and then came Arn Ladd, and behind them Aldborough Festival and Double Meaning, and behind them was Skin Deep, and then Joe Legg, and looking back to the last horses, Ring It, one of the early leaders, and Tug of Love, the back markers. And so the result of the 1980 Royal Hunt Cup. First, number 15, Tender Heart, owned by SL Commodities Limited, trained by John Sutcliffe at Epsom and ridden by Joe Mercer. Second was number 1, Lord Rochford, owned by Mr. Barney Shine, trained by Brian Swift at Epsom and ridden by Walter Swinburne. Officially, it's a photograph for second place, but I don't think there's much doubt that Lord Rochford is second and that number 12, Smart Set, owned by Mr. George Ward, trained by Fulk Johnson Horton and ridden by John Reed, is third. But as I say, it's a photo officially for second place, no doubt about the winner. A third Hunt Cup triumph for John Sutcliffe with Tender Heart, a second win of the meeting for the champion Joe Mercer. Here he is aboard Tender Heart. Here's how he won it as we see the closing stages again with Julian Wilson.
And in the end, it turned out that the high numbers racing up the centre of the course had the advantage. Smart Set led the far side group for most of the journey and was still just about in front here. And it's just about here that Joe Mercer made his move on the far side. A terrific run, too, from Lord Rochford with the red cap and the noseband over on the far side making his run. On the stand side, Joe Legg just starting to weaken. Willie Carson with the white sleeves goes for his whip on North Leach, just 3 from the right there. But at this stage, as Smart Set weakens, Joe Mercer drives Tender Heart into the lead. Baronet's got a good position on the far side, but it's weakening now into third place. And running on in second still at this point is Smart Set, but shortly to be headed for second for the second year running, moving back to third. Moving into second place now is Lord Rochford under his amazing weight of 10 stone 7. But Tender Heart is clear. Joe Mercer's driven him clear. He's put 2 or 3 lengths between himself and the rest of the opposition. A terrific bit of training this by John Sutcliffe. He's a clear winner at the line from Lord Rochford, who seems to be in second, Smart Set third, and Baronet fourth.
Yeah.
Nice, and hadn't really asked him, you know. Now you can ask him for the effort, and he gets on with his job beautifully.
Brian Rice is closest to you on Baronet here.
It seemed to be a top weight race, isn't it? Top weight. Second was carried 10 stone. Baronet's got 10 stone, I've got 9 stone, so I'm doing very well.
It certainly looked like an Epsom race at this stage, too.
It does, rather, doesn't it? Possession.
The ground rides very well, actually, but it's, you know, you're saving a lot of ground, I think, going straight up, and it seems to pay dividends anyway. This business of crowded to one side of the fence, I don't think it pays off anymore.
Before the race itself, I mean, were you confident that you'd be racing on the best ground in the centre of the course, or were you a bit worried that the low numbers...
Over the last couple of years here, it's tended to be that at one stage it used to be one side favoured best or the other side, and everybody said, I'm drawing on the wrong side, you've got no chance of winning. And 2 or 3 years ago, the torrential downpours, the stalls were placed in the centre, and we all went up the centre, and we said, you know, blimey, this is fantastic, we're racing, we're winning anyway. And as it comes out at the moment, I think they're just about winning from anywhere, if they're good enough.
And you came up the centre, in fact, on Pushy as well.
Well, in Pushy he was drawn 14, 15, and I think the second horse was drawn 50. I was 15, he was 17, and we've come straight up on a straight track. The ground's right, I think, equally all over, as good as everywhere, you know, it's good ground.
Well, this morning you were only third favourite to emerge as top jockey at the meeting here. You must be a bit more confident now, and obviously your key ride tomorrow is Lamotte's in the Gold Cup. Now, how happy are you that Henry Cecil's been able to get him fit?
I think he's fit all right. We've done, you know, the governor's done a tremendous amount of conditioning work with him, and the point of the matter is really he had a problem with his hock some time back, but then early spring he had sort of a little bit of a virus like all the horses had. He's a horse who likes a bit of give in the ground, and he got a bit fed up of the fast, hard ground at Newmarket, which we've had for about 2 months, and he swam him, and he's very, very sweet.
Which is in stall number 8, and here's possibly the best maiden in the country, Our Home, just going in, and let's join Peter O'Sullivan.
Cairn Rouge 5-4 favourite, Quick as Lightning 4-1, 5 bar. They're all in under starters orders, and away. Our Home, one of the first to show, and now Docklands going on. Docklands and Lester Piggott going on in the early stages. From Orange Leaf in second, then comes Our Home, and Stump just in behind Our Home. Behind her, Battle Wind. Behind Battle Wind, Light of Realm, Cairn Rouge, and Quick as Lightning. Docklands making it from Orange Leaf and Our Home, Stumped on the inside. Then Battle Wind, Light of Realm, Cairn Rouge on the inside, then Quick as Lightning as they race towards the 5 furlong mark in this Coronation Stakes. Docklands from Orange Leaf, then Stumped on the inside of Our Home, then Cairn Rouge. The outside of Cairn Rouge is Battle Wind, with Quick as Lightning improving very fast now to run round the outside of them. Willie Carson. Light of Realm is relegated to last. They're inside the final half mile. Docklands and Orange Leaf disputing it from Our Home and Stumped. Just behind them, Quick as Lightning and Cairn Rouge. Behind them, Battle Wind, and then Light of Realm. Into the home straight. Docklands on the far rail, Orange Leaf. Then comes Our Home. Quick as Lightning is improving. Cairn Rouge trying to improve over on the far rail. They're running towards the furlong pole now, and it's Orange Leaf coming through in between Our Home. Then comes Stumped. Then Cairn Rouge trying to get a run. Tony Murray in between horses, and it's Cairn Rouge coming to challenge over on the far side now. Quick as Lightning on the near side. Cairn Rouge on the far side. Quick as Lightning on the near side. They race up towards the line. It's Cairn Rouge and Quick as Lightning, and Cairn Rouge is going to win it at the line. Cairn Rouge just wins it in a photo from Quick as Lightning with Our Home third. Then Stumped and Battle Wind and Light of Realm, and then Orange Leaf, and behind them Docklands, who finished last. Think we'll find officially it's a photo, but probably Cairn Rouge has just beaten Quick as Lightning in a dramatic finale to the Coronation Stakes. Cairn Rouge the finisher on the far side, Quick as Lightning the finisher on the near side. Yes, the letter P is in the frame. It's a photo finish. A photo finish between number 1, the finisher on the far side, Cairn Rouge, owned by Mr. David C. Brady, trained by Michael Cunningham and written by Tony Murray. And on the near side, Quick as Lightning, owned by Mr. Ogden Mills Phipps, trained by John Dunlop and written by Willie Carson, with Willie, of course, trying to complete a double in these colours, or trying to complete a double for these colours, successful yesterday on Posse. But I think we'll find we're looking at the winner here, Cairn Rouge. I think Tony Murray has just won his first Coronation Stakes. But it's very close. There is a steward's inquiry. There is not only a photo finish, but there is a steward's inquiry. So let's see the closing stages, and very dramatic closing stages, of this Coronation Stakes. Once again now with Julian Wilson.
Yes, well, she had to be a good filly to win from this position, Cairn Rouge, and obviously her progress is the subject of the steward's inquiry. Duckman still pressed there by Orange Leaf. Tony's looking for a run between the two, a split between the two, as Our Home looms up on the outside and Willie Carson makes his run on the far right and quick as lightning. And is the gap going to come for Tony? Because there doesn't seem to be any room there at all for him. 3 horses abreast in front of him. Lester Piggott dropping out on the rails. Steve Cawthon on Orange Leaf, and then Greville Starkey on the outside on Our Home. And Tony's still looking for room at this point, and he's gone for the split between Steve Cawthon and Greville Starkey, and it looks to me an acceptable split, although Steve's just stopped riding there for a few strides on the rails, and it's just possible that he was interfered with in a very minor way. But Tony's got through now, and now has to withstand the challenge of Willie Carson on the outside with the blinkered quick as lightning, and the two of them have gone neck and neck for the line. But once she's got through, she's quickened like a really good filly, Cairn Rouge, and for me she's held on by a head or a neck on the line. What a tragedy it'd be if the winner was stood down for 2 years running in this race.
Taylor goes in on Son of Sharka, and Christy Roach waiting to go in on Clive Britton's charge. Let's join Peter O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Jimmy. Very nearly all in now. That was Eagles Field, Lightning Label, and then Torfan. 6 furlongs this Corkenary, which Jimmy Lindley last won 18 years ago on compensation, and that's it. Sharpo, 11-4 favourite, the white flag poised. It's raised, they're under orders, and they're away. Torfan breaks fast over on the far side with Gypsy Dancer right up with them. Jasmine Star in the centre, running very fast, and over towards the stand side, Flash and Thunder and Son of Sharka. Son of Sharka on the near side, Flash and Thunder and Kampala right up with them, and over on the far side is Jasmine Star leading that group from Wid just in behind them. In behind Wid is Torfan, behind Torfan is Gypsy Dancer. On the near side, it's Son of Sharka from Flash and Thunder and Kampala. On the far side, it's Jasmine Star and Tommy Carberry in the lead, being tracked by Willie Carson on Sharpo, then Torfan, then Lightning Label, then comes Alert. Carney's making good ground in the centre of the course. On the near side now, Flash and Thunder has come to take a prominent position with Kampala. Valeriga comes next. Carney is taking it up now in the centre of the course from Jasmine Star, and it's Carney now from Jasmine Star and Sharpo as they race inside the final furlong. Carney and young Walter Swinburne in the lead from Sharpo, Willie Carson, then Jasmine Star as they race up towards the line. Valeriga putting in a great run to the near side. Sharpo in the centre, Carney on the far side, Valeriga on the near side. Sharpo getting up at the line. Carney just wins it though from Sharpo with Valeriga third. It'll be a photo all right, but Carney for me has just won it from Sharpo and Valeriga. Very close this one. That's Carney we're looking at to the right there. Sharpo's the one in the middle. Valeriga's the one on the left. Very close indeed the outcome of this Corkenary Stakes, in which I think we'll find that Carney, ridden by young Walter Swinburne, has just beaten Sharpo, ridden by Willie Carson. But officially it's a photo finish. The letter P in the frame, the numbers to listen for: number 18 Carney, Sharpo number 14, and Valeriga number 2. But I think we'll find that young Walter's won it on Carney for Ireland. Let's see the closing stages again with Julian Wilson.
And once again it looks as if the ground and the centre was the better. One of the early leaders was Tofan, but he was also one of the first beaten. Jasmine Star with a prominent place there, and just coming on the right of the leading group, Walter Swinburne making his run on Carney. Sharpo a little way off the pace at this point. Son of Sharka was the early leader on the stand side, but in the end it was Valeriga who came through at the stand side to throw down a very serious challenge indeed. Kampala's also there with Valeriga on the stand side. But now Carney has burst clear in the centre of the course, pursued by Sharpo, with Sharpo cutting him down with every stride to the line, while Valeriga runs on well for Greville Starkey, drawn number 3 on the stand side. And Carney's lead is reduced all the way up to the line, but it looks as if Willie Carson's challenge is just too late. He's closing with every stride, but at the line it looks as if Carney's just held on by a head or a neck from Sharpo in second and Valeriga a close third.
First, number 18 Carney, 40-1. Second, number 14 Sharpo, 11-4 favourite. Third, number 2 Valeriga, 25-1.
In number 1 stall, but that's it. Just one to go. Mystica 10-1. Taxhaven is in. All in store for the Norfolk Stakes understarters orders, and they're away. And Severiano breaks far, so does Mystica. Between the two is Chummy's Special and Pontin Lad towards the right of the picture, and it's Mystica who's taking him along now. Mystica from Pontin Lad, Severiano over on the far side with Chummy's Special. Taxhaven is tucked in behind Chummy's Special and Mystica. As they run down past the 3 mark, Mystica in the lead from Pontin Lad, Chummy's Special, Severiano over on the far side. Mystica though with the advantage from Chummy's Special, Severiano to the far side, Pontin Lad towards the near side, and it's Mystica, Chummy's Special, Pontin Lad towards the near side. Taxhaven making ground now, Chummy's Special in the lead from Mystica, Pontin Lad coming there strongly now on the stand side, Taxhaven putting in a run over on the far side. It's Chummy's Special from Pontin Lad, Taxhaven on the far side, Chummy's Special being challenged by Taxhaven now over on the far side, Chummy's Special on the near side. It's still Chummy's Special as they race up towards the line from Taxhaven. Chummy's Special just wins it at the line. Chummy's Special is the winner. Taxhaven is second, Pontin Lad is third, and Severiano 4. Then African Guy and Mystica, and so the result of the Norfolk Stakes. First number 2, Chummy's Special, running in the name of Mr. Chummy Gaventa, but just sold by him, I gather, before the race. Trained by Gavin Hunter and ridden by Gravel Starkey. Second was number 12, Taxhaven, owned by Mr. J.D. Ashenheim, trained by Robert Armstrong and ridden by Lester Piggott. And third was number 8, Pontin Lad, owned by Coral Leisure Group Limited, trained by Tom Jones and ridden by Paul Cook. Fourth was number 10, Severiano. This is the winner, Chummy's Special, who featured in an Ascot deal, just as Posse did just before his race, and a very successful deal too. He wasn't sold for a great deal of money. Here's how Chummy's Special won the 8th running of the Norfolk Stakes as we review it with Julian Wilson.
And an open-looking race it looked at this stage too. Mystica showed a lot of early speed on the right, and Pontin's Lad right on the right with a noseband. Well, obviously his exertions beforehand must have taken something out of him. He looks beaten now, although he runs on to be third. Chummy's Lad being pressed by Severiano on the far side at this point, and Lester Piggott looking for a gap in between the two, having laid off the pace, and he comes through a narrow gap as Severiano weakens on the far rails. And now it's a ding-dong battle between Chummy's Special, who's not going to relent at all. Pontin Lad running on well on the stand side, with Lester Piggott now throwing everything into attack on the far side on Taxhaven. Lester's really asked a serious question from this 2-year-old, and he's responded well, but Chummy's Lad's had the resources and Gravel Starkey to hold him off by about half a length, with Pontin's Lad third.
Taxhaven, 5-4 favourite. Third, number 8, Pontin Lad, 3-1. The jackpot number of the winner, 202.
Lamos reproduced the form that enabled him to beat his stable companion Buckskin and give Lester Piggott his 9th winner of the Gold Cup 12 months ago.
They're coming down to the 2 furlong pole in the Gold Cup, and it's Buckskin being pressed by his stable companion now, Lamos, and it's Lamos now who takes it up from Buckskin. Lamos on the near side, Buckskin on the far side, the 2 stable companions. Lester Piggott bidding for his 9th Gold Cup on the near side. Joe Mercer on the far side of Buckskin. Looks as though he's accepted it. Lester is going to storm to his 9th victory in the Gold Cup. It's Lamos going away from his stable companion Buckskin as they come up towards the line. Lamos wins the 1979 Ascot Gold Cup. Buckskin is second. Third is Arapahoe.
Lamos the winner by 7 lengths, with Arapahoe 5 lengths away third. But now Arapahoe reopposes Lamos, and in the belief of trainer Barry Hills, is a much better horse this season than he was last. An opinion vindicated by his success under a big weight in the Chester Cup.
Under 2 furlongs to run now. Pollardstown turns into the straight in the lead from Taffy second. Then comes Majestic Maharaj. See Pigeon on the far rail. Arapahoe coming to challenge on the near side. Halen only just in behind him. They're racing into the final furlong now, and it's Pollardstown being pressed by Arapahoe. Arapahoe on the near side coming to take it up now as they race up towards the line. Arapahoe is going to win it from Pollardstown and Taffy as they come to the line. Arapahoe wins it. Pollardstown is second. Taffy is third.
Arapahoe, one of the 7 rivals to Lamos in the Gold Cup. The full international field of 8, named now by Peter O'Sullivan.
1 is Arapahoe, as I'm told it should be pronounced, written by Steve Cawthon. 2 is Ardross, Christy Roach. 3, Billion, Pat Edery. 4 is Buttress, who's blinkered, written by Willie Carson. 5, Crook Sear, ridden by Jean-Paul, I should say, Lefebvre. 6 is Le Mans, ridden by Joe Mercer. 7 is Noble Saint, ridden by Lester Piggott. And 8, Vincent, ridden by Brian Taylor.
Le Mans still 11-4 favourite. Joint favourites Vincent and Arapaho at 5-1. Noble Saint 11-2 with Ardros. Buttress 8-1. Billion now 9-1, and Croque Monsieur 20-1.
Thank you, Jimmy. For that, I'll mention that you rode in the Gold Cup 9 times and you won it twice. Le Mans, the 3-1 favourite, 11-2 bar. This is Le Mans, of course, last year's winner on the far side. This is Croque Monsieur, the French challenger, number 5. Le Mans just being a little bit mulish there. Croque Monsieur backing out. Le Mans very reluctant at the moment, being hooded and soothed by the handlers. Croque Monsieur in all right. And now Le Mans in. Now Vincent. Ardros, the 6-1 chance now from 11-2 is the last in. Christy Roach. And that's it. They're all installed for the Gold Cup. Under orders and away. Croque Monsieur towards the near side. Le Mans on the far side. These two from Vincent as they settle down in the early stages. Croque Monsieur towards the right of the picture as we see them now, just a little bit wide of them. Le Mans over on the far rail. Vincent's in between the two. Then come Arapaho and Ardros and Billion and Buttress and Noble Saint. It's Le Mans towards the left of the picture on the rail. The fractional lead in the early stages over Croque Monsieur. Just behind them come Vincent and Arapaho, then Ardros, then Billion. Behind Billion is Buttress, and then Lester Piggott on his 22nd Gold Cup ride, poised in behind them on Noble Saint. At this point, they'll have 2 furlongs to run after a complete circuit next time, and it's Le Mans in the lead from Croque Monsieur, Vincent, Arapaho, Ardros. Little gap then to Billion, Buttress, and Noble Saint. And a pretty good pace. And Joe Mercer ensuring with the French challenger Croque Monsieur that this is a proper stamina test, because these 2 horses are known to get the distance. Vincent's just in behind them, then Arapaho, then Ardros, then quite a gap to Billion, Buttress and Noble Saint. As they start to swing right-handed, Le Mans from Croque Monsieur, Vincent, Arapaho, Ardros, Buttress, Billion and Noble Saint. And already with 1.5 miles to run in the Gold Cup, it's a certainty that whoever wins it will have to really get the full distance, because they're going very good pace indeed for a race over this trip. Le Mans running for the first time this season. On the inside of Croque Monsieur for France, then Vincent, Arapaho, Ardros, Buttress, Billion and Noble Saint. As they run down towards Swinley Bottom, 1.25 miles to run. Le Mans, last year's winner, Croque Monsieur, Vincent, Arapaho, Ardros, Buttress and the Royal Colours getting much closer now, then a gap to Billion and finally Noble Saint. They're racing towards the mile marker now. Le Mans on the inside of Croque Monsieur, then Vincent, behind Vincent, Arapaho, then Ardros, Buttress, a gap to Billion and Noble Saint, and they're past the mile marker. Le Mans on the inside of Croque Monsieur, Vincent, Arapaho, Ardros, Buttress, then Billion and Noble Saint. 7 furlongs to run in the Gold Cup, and Croque Monsieur for France takes the advantage now from Le Mans. Then comes Vincent, Arapaho is close, then Ardros just in behind them, then a little gap to Buttress, then comes Billion and Noble Saint, and they're racing to the 6 furlong marker now. And as they do so, it's Le Mans who goes back into the lead. being pressed by Arapaho now going second. Then comes Ardros, Vincent improving fast. Croque Monsieur is losing ground. Buttress has got plenty to do. They've got 5 furlongs to run, and it's Lamos now from Arapaho, Vincent and Ardros for Ireland. Then comes Croque Monsieur, then Buttress, then Noble Saint, getting a lot closer to them now, and then Billion. They're coming to the home turn now. Lamos from Vincent and Arapaho, and Ardros back in 4th, then Buttress under pressure. Noble Saint is making ground. They're rounding the home turn now, and as they do so, it's Vincent, the challenger to Lamos, then Arapaho, and then Ardros as they turn for home. And under pressure, Lamos being pressed by Vincent, and then Ardros for Ireland coming there towards the right of the picture. And it's Lamos on the far side, Ardros on the near side, Vincent in between horses. Then comes Arapaho. They're racing down to the furlong pole now, and it's Lamos on the far side, Ardros on the near side. Lamos and Ardros. Lamos holding Ardros at the moment as they race up towards the line. Lamos looks as though he's going to win it for the second time. Ardros still pressing him, but Lamos is holding him, and as they come to the line, it's going to be very close. Lamos is just going to win it. Lamos wins the Gold Cup from Ardros second. Vincent is third, Billion 4, 5 came Arapaho, then Noble Saint, and behind him Buttress, and last was the French challenger Croque Monsieur. And so the result of the 1980 Gold Cup: first, number 6 Lamos, owned by Mr. Carlo D'Alessio, trained by Henry Cecil and ridden by Joe Mercer. Second was number 2 Ardros, owned by Mr. Paddy Prendergast, trained by him and ridden by Christy Roach. And third was number 8 Vincent, owned by Mr. Dan Pren, trained by Jeremy Hindley and ridden by Brown Taylor. Fourth was number 3 Billion. So here is the hero of the 1980 Gold Cup. He's won it in successive years. He's won it after not having had a previous race this season. Gamely holding the horse on his left there as we see them, or on his right really, but on the left of our picture, Ardros, who put up such a gallant effort in a bid to win Paddy Prendergast his first ever Ascot Gold Cup. But Lamos, representing a brilliant training feat by Henry Cecil, who's trained him in a swimming pool as much as on the gallops, has won it for the second successive year, and a second triumph for Joe Mercer, who first won it in 1967. By a short head on Parbury, he now becomes the leading jockey here. Lamos was 3-1 favourite. Let's see how the favourite won the Gold Cup. Reviewing it with Julian Wilson.
Yes, and what a superb performance by horse, rider and by trainer. It was a real test of stamina, as Peter said, and Brown Taylor moved up onto Lamos's quarters coming into the straight, but Lamos was too strong for him. And then Christy Roach threw down this challenge on the Irish challenger Ardros, and the three of them have drawn clear of the remainder of the field. You can see how much daylight there is with Noble Saint, who was restrained early by Lester Piggott, a long way back. But Lamos simply won't go on, and although he hasn't had a race for I don't know how long, he's battled on with tremendous courage and have got there to the line, holding on from Ardros, who is closing the gap with every stride.
Joe Mercer returning to an enthusiastic reception after his third winner at the Royal Meeting. So the champion jockey, 45 years old, in the lead now in the Ritz Club Trophy. Lamos, the horse who achieved the great Cup hat-trick last year, getting a pat there from Henry Cecil and Carlo D'Alessio by winning last year the Ascot Gold Cup, the Goodwood Cup and the Doncaster Cup. Doubtful if any training achievement will have pleased Henry more than this. He's had slight trouble with his feet, this horse. Couldn't get him out onto a race course before today. A really notable effort, which even his father-in-law, Sir Noel Merlis, doubtless watching now, would have been proud.
If there's anyone to go a gallop, I'll make it on myself, you know. And that's the way he likes to be. And he loves it when another horse is pushing him all the time. And the French horse has been a great assistance to me all the way around. He's made my horse, you know, once he finds his stride after he's gone a couple of furlongs, and he's come to me, he's always been at my quarters, and my old guy keeps on sticking his head out. Oh, this is lovely. And when we went to Swindon the bottom, I thought, well, if I can just give him a break for 100 yards, which I did. I just set up myself and had a sort of break for 100 yards, and then I knew they were sort of coming at me with 7 to go, and I kicked on from then and made for home. But
it wasn't a very long break, was it?
Well, you know, if you give a horse, you know, you let a horse just get his wind in a race of that calibre, and we know he stays very well. He did a race for about 100 yards. That's long enough for him.
Well, Brian Taylor moved up to your quarters when they came into the straight. Were you worried at that point as well?
No, because Vincent, he's flat out. I know if he's flat out, I've got to be going better than him.
Well, you beat him off. You beat off Steve Corton on the Rappars, and the last challenge came from Christy Roach on Ardgoss.
He did worry me a little bit because he's loomed up there with about a furlong to go, and my off fellows inside the last furlong is beginning to just, you know, feel a pinch of it, and Christy's got to my quarters, and there he stayed, you know. But it's a marvellous performance on my horse's part to, I think, to Henry Cecil actually for training, but you know, 'cause he never at home he doesn't gallop. He doesn't like galloping. Only in certain places, and I think he's done a remarkable job to get him on the racecourse, let alone win the Gold Cup for a second year running.
Well, that was the moment that he could have given it in, but he's just a terrific battler, isn't he?
A tremendous battler. He's a fantastic horse to ride because he's always helping you. You know, you get a horse who's going nowhere, you can't ride him, but that fella, every time you grab him and punch, he'll be fine an inch.
Vaguely Tender now 3 to 1, Saviour 7 to 2, Light Cavalry 4 to 1, Starway 7s, Super Asset with Rontino on 8 to 1, St. Jonathan gone out to 9 to 1, Johnny O'Day drifted to 14s, Shining Tour on 20 to 1, and the outsider now Northern King on 50 to 1.
Well, let's join Peter O'Sullivan.
Yes, the 10 runners all in for the King Edward VII Stakes. They're under starters' orders. And they're away, and Starway dwells a little bit in the box. And it's Vaguely Tender, the first to show, from Light Cavalry going up on the outside. Light Cavalry going right up to join Vaguely Tender. Then comes Shining Tour and Rontino on the inside, and then St. Jonathan and Super Asset. Then Northern King and Saviour. And then Starway, who's made up that lost ground and just relegated Johnny O'Day to last place, and it's Vaguely Tender from Light Cavalry, Rontino, Shining Tour on the inside, Northern King, and then St. Jonathan and Super Asset and Saviour and Starway, and finally Johnny O'Day as they race down into Swindley Bottom. Vaguely Tender and Pat Edery in the lead. From Joe Mercer on Light Cavalry, then comes Willie Carson on Rontino. Behind them are Shining Tour. Behind Shining Tour is Northern King, and then St. Jonathan and Super Asset, then Saviour, Starway, and Johnny O'Day, and they're past the mile marker already, and Vaguely Tender in the lead from Light Cavalry second and Rontino third. Shining Tour 4-5 is Northern King. 6 just behind them comes St. Jonathan, then Super Asset and Saviour and Starway, and finally Johnny O'Day, and they race past the 7 furlong mark. Vaguely Tender in the lead from Light Cavalry second, Rontino third. Behind them comes Shining Tour. Matching strides then St. Jonathan and Northern King. Saviour making a little bit of ground on the outside of Super Asset, then comes Starway, and finally Johnny O'Day. They're passing the 6 furlong marker, and still Vaguely Tender in the lead. Vaguely Tender from Light Cavalry and Rontino, then close Shining Tour. Saviour making ground on the outside of St. Jonathan, Northern King on the inner, and then Super Asset, then Johnny O'Day, and then Starway, who's been relegated to last. They're coming to the half-mile point from home in the King Edward VII Stakes, and as they do so, it's Vaguely Tender being pressed by Light Cavalry. Then comes Rontino on the inside of Shining Tour, then St. Jonathan, then Saviour making ground on the outside of Northern King. As they turn into the straight, Vaguely Tender from Light Cavalry, Rontino and Shining Tour. Then behind them comes St. Jonathan's. Saviour's making ground. Lester Piggott just in behind him. They've got 2.5 furlongs to run. Vaguely Tender being pressed still by Light Cavalry, then Rontino, then Shining Tour coming there strongly towards the outside with St. Jonathan under pressure, and then Saviour, who isn't done with yet. It's Vaguely Tender and Light Cavalry from Shining Tour. St. Jonathan on the outside. Then comes Saviour. They're coming to the furlong pole. Light Cavalry now takes it up from Vaguely Tender, but putting in a good run between horses is Shining Tour. St. Jonathan coming there, and Saviour putting in a tremendous run now towards the stand side, and it's Light Cavalry in their lead as they race up towards the line, being chased by Saviour. Light Cavalry and Saviour. Light Cavalry's won it from Saviour, second and third St. Jonathan. 4 just in behind them came Shining Tour, and then Johnny O'Day, and behind him Vaguely Tender and Starway and Rontino and Northern King and Super Asset. And so the result of the King Edward VII Stakes is first number 3, Light Cavalry, owned by Mr. Jim Joel, trained by Henry Cecil and ridden by Joe Mercer. Second was number 8, Saviour, owned by Mr. John Morrison, trained by Jeremy Tree and ridden by Lester Piggott. And third was number 7, St. Jonathan, owned by Mr. Richard Swift, trained by Barry Hills and ridden by Steve Cawthon. And fourth was number 9, Shining Tour. So a double for both Joe Mercer and Henry Cecil. A fourth triumph in the King Edward VII Stakes for Joe, who won it in 65 on Convermore, 71 Sea Friend, 75 Sea Anchor. Here's how he won it in 1980 as we review it with Julian Wilson.
Well, the one thing Light Cavalry does is stay, and so the tremendous pace that Pat had set on Vaguely Tender was just what he wanted. At this point, Joe's come to challenge Vaguely Tender. Also, between horses, there was Ron Tino. Willie Carson didn't have a lot of room to make his challenge there, and the white cap of Lord Derby's Shining Tour. And Lester Piggott coming from behind, just switching round St. Jonathan there. His man Saviour with quite a bit to do, 2 furlongs out, and he's had to switch round the entire field to make his challenge. At this point, Joe has hit the front on Light Cavalry as Vaguely Tender weakens very quickly. Brian Taylor looked a big threat on Shining Tour at this point on the far side. But look how well Saviour and Lester Piggott have finished. This was a real St. Ledger trial for him. But Joe Mercer had got first run on Light Cavalry, and he wasn't going to stop galloping at the end. And at the end, he's got half, 3/4 of a length to spare from Saviour, with St. Jonathan back in third.
Second number 8, Saviour, 4-1. Third number 7, St. Jonathan, 10-1.
To win the Vaux Brewery's Gold Tankard at Redcar for a record 3rd time.
Hunderleela strikes the front from Grand Nice with, on the outside, Sea Pigeon apparently cruising at this stage. They've got about 2 furlongs to go. And it's Hunderleela, Sea Pigeon and Grand Nice, very little to choose between the 3. A furlong and a half from home, Sea Pigeon on the outside. Grand Nice and Hunderleila, both these two under pressure, racing to a point a furlong from home, and Sea Pigeon pickens a pace, but Hunderleila sticking with him. Inside the final furlong, it's Sea Pigeon going on from Hunderleila. We've got half a furlong left to race, and it's Sea Pigeon from Hunderleila, who's fighting back, but as he goes towards the line, it's going to be Sea Pigeon by half a length, and at the line, Sea Pigeon wins the race.
And Sea.
Well, there he is, old Sea Pigeon. John Joe, his usual partner, quite often on the flat, but always over the hurdles. He's by that great horse, Seabird. He's a 10-year-old now. Last time out, he wasn't all that brilliant, frankly. He was third in the Tennant Trophy at Ayr. He wasn't beaten all that far, giving the usual lumps of weight away behind Smoky Bear and Russian George. Second when odds on in an amateur's race at Beverley, ridden by his own son Stephen, who made a slightly misjudged the pace, in fact, and he was beaten 6 lengths by Golden River. I think you can perhaps forget that form. Ran his usual good race in the Northumberland Plate at Newcastle. He was 4th to Mons Bow, and an easy win of an amateur's race at Hamilton before that. He's sure to come fast and late. He usually does anyway. He won this race in 77 and 78, and the ground should suit him. Number 1 out of our picture, Sea Pigeon. We're looking at Newmarket Challenge. You're quite fancy, Graham. A Newmarket Challenge, a 4th of his last 2 runs in pretty hot company. But they're all in, Graham, so back to you.
For this, the 22nd under orders and off, the 22nd running of the Vaux Brewers Gold Tankard, and it's quite a steady pace being set by Angelo Salvini with Donegal Prince just up on the outside of it, then No Bombs towards the right of those two. Shaftesbury tucked in, that one looked very well indeed. Lester Piggott just tracking Angelo Salvini. Billion is the back marker, and Sea Pigeon last but one as they start playing their cards, turning into the back straight. And it's Angelo Salvini, Donegal Prince, Shaftesbury, No Bombs, then Morvetto, Sea Pigeon and Billion, and the pace quite a slow one, with Angelo Salvini leading from Donegal Prince, Shaftesbury. Could this be a benefit day for Michael Stout? 2 winners already. No Bombs is in 4th, then Morvetto. Then comes Sea Pigeon, and finally Billion. And Angelo Salvini just quickening the pace now from Donegal Prince in 2nd place, with in 3rd Shaftesbury, 4 No Bombs, 5 Morvetto, 6 Sea Pigeon, and 7th is Billion, and Billion just beginning to lose a little bit of touch as the pace quickened down there, with Angelo Salvini in the lead from Donegal Prince 2nd, Shaftesbury is 3rd, and No Bombs 4th. Morvetto is 5th, and Sea Pigeon 6th, and Billion getting further and further behind at this stage, but they've still got quite a long way to go. A mile and a furlong just over, and it's Angelo Salvini in the lead from Donegal Prince, Shaftesbury tracking Angelo Salvini, No Bombs tracking Shaftesbury, Morvetto tracking those two, Sea Pigeon close up, going very well for John Joe O'Neill under top weight. The only one not in the picture and really some way out of contention with a mile to go is Billion. They've got Just over 7 furlongs to go. Angelo Salvini from Donegal Prince, Shaftesbury, No Bombs, Morvetta and Sea Pigeon. These all still quite closely grouped as they begin this turn out of the back straight with 7 furlongs to go. Angelo Salvini from Donegal Prince, Morvetta, No Bombs, Shaftesbury close up, Sea Pigeon close up. They're beginning the turn now, and the brakes are on a little bit as they begin to turn left-handed with 6 furlongs to go. Angelo Salvini just steadied the pace to bring him round the bend. Donegal Prince second, Shaftesbury is third, No Bombs on the outside of Morvetta, Sea Pigeon close up. They're all close up with the exception of Billion, and the race beginning in earnest now as they turn into the home straight. Just over 5 to go. Angelo Salvini, there's Billion, you can see a long way adrift with 4.5 to go, and it's Angelo Salvini kicking for home. Donegal Prince comes under pressure. Lester Piggott cruising just behind them. So too is Sea Pigeon and John Joe O'Neill. Morvetta, No Bombs towards the stand side, 3.5 to go. Angelo Salvini, Donegal Prince, Shaftesbury now just switched to the outside. No Bombs on the extreme left of the picture going well. They've just got under 3 furlongs to go now. Angelo Salvini, Donegal Prince, Shaftesbury, Morvetta coming with a run. No Bombs, Sea Pigeon not out of it. Shaftesbury now coming up alongside. Morvetta to dispute the lead. Sea Pigeon coming with a customary late run. No Bombs up on the outside, 1.5 to go. Shaftesbury now strikes the front. Morvetta, but here comes Sea Pigeon, the old gallant Sea Pigeon with a furlong and a half to go. In with the right chance. Shaftesbury is under pressure, and here comes Sea Pigeon up on the outside, coming inside the final furlong. The old man's comfortably taken up. It's Sea Pigeon in the lead from Shaftesbury, who can do no more. A tremendous reception here from the Red Car crowd as Sea Pigeon storms home for his third win in the race. At the post has the advantage, is the winner. Shaftesbury second, No Bombs third, Morvetta and Donegal Prince, and then came Angelo Salvini, and the back marker, the last one to pass the post, was Billion, who in fact was last virtually throughout. Well, absolutely magnificent. Old Sea Pigeon under the steadier of 10 stone, brought with a beautifully timed run by John Joe O'Neill, winning his 15th, I think, flat race at Sea Pigeon, and right well he did it too, and this is his third Vaux Brewery's gold tankard. So Peter Easterby had 3 aces in his hand, and this one certainly came up the ace of hearts for here. Those at Red Card, just how sweetly he won. We can see now the action described by Ken.
And a real cat and mouse game it had been at this stage. There's Sea Pigeon, John Joe just watching across to his left, watching Lester making his move there. Lester going through 3 off the rails on Shaftesbury to win his race. On the far outside, No Bombs is not done with, but you can see John Joe, he's really sitting there in a lovely position. Sea Pigeon loving it as well as they pass the 2 furlong marker. They're all at work now. Lester Piggott just beginning to niggle on Shaftesbury, 1 off the rails there, but still Sea Pigeon, he hasn't moved on Sea Pigeon. Sea Pigeon knows where the winning post is here to the last inch, I should imagine. Now he's done No Bombs on his outside. Lester under strong pressure with Shaftesbury, realises the danger, and now at this moment, I think just about a furlong to go, John Joe is the furlong marker there. John Joe asks Sea Pigeon to go, and go he does. This wonderfully game old 10-year-old carrying top weight, giving weight to all the other runners and leaving them stone cold really in the last furlong or so here. He's hit the front in some ways a little bit earlier. Robon's running on there but not getting to Shaftesbury, who's still second. A great game performance by a wonderful staying horse, and a lovely win for Pat Muldoon and Peter Easterby.
And there he is, his grand old veteran, winning his 15th race and his third Vaux gold tankard. Sea Pigeon, the 9-2 winner, and really they played into his hands here, because a time of 3 minutes 16 and 4/5, a little bit slow. As you can see, the jockeys just biding each other's time. They came through, and when Sea Pigeon quickened up, he won in fine style. So the official outcome is first number 1, Sea Pigeon, second number 5, Shaftesbury, third number 4, No Bombs, and fourth number 8, Morvetta. And there is this gallant old horse, 10 years old. Just imagine your granddad running around here at 70 years old. Gallant old horse coming back into the unsaddling enclosure. And really, it's absolutely magnificent to see the horse come back to his best and beat a fair group of handicappers in no uncertain terms. Perhaps the slow pace didn't help Donegal Prince. He might be better suited by a faster race in the Eva. Well, that Sea Pigeon, praise is just not enough for this horse. What a truly remarkable old veteran character he is. Absolutely marvellous. He started at 9-2. Now the other price is from John Tyrrell.
Thank you, Graham. Now, I've just heard there's now a steward's inquiry on this race, but here are the full starting prices. First, number 1, Sea Pigeon, 9-2. Second, number 5, Shaftesbury, 11-8 favourite. And third, number 4, No Bombs, 7-2, 7 ran.
Different feel to the feel he had when he was a dead horse when he finished third at Ayr. So he was obviously on form today. He likes the seaside air up here at Redcar. I'm sure that's it. Anyway, it was a great performance. Graham and I have been trying to puzzle out what the Stewart's Inquiry is about. We're wondering whether it's looking into the running of Billion, because he trailed in last in the most disappointing performance. But
Scorpio and Lester Piggott. Christy Roach looking for room on Noelino. Scorpio in the centre, keeps running absolutely straight. Leicester's just starting to weaken now on Sanfils, who comes under pressure. He's just a little bit away from the rails. And a gap does appear between Scorpio and Lester Piggott for Christy Roach to come through on Noelino. Joe Mercer, with his white face on Main Reef, never at any stage had any room. Just for a moment a gap came between Noelino and Scorpio, but the gap was closed again before Joe even had time to poke his nose through it. Willie Carson's mount, more light on the wide outside, is running absolutely straight. So a really unlucky race for Joe Mercer on Main Reef, but no interference there at all. And as you can see, Scorpio's come through to win his race, keeping absolutely straight to the line. More light on the outside is also kept straight, and Christy Roach came through a gap which was perfectly legitimate.
The familiar form of John Joe O'Neill. John Joe, as I told you, just returned from holiday in Ireland and doesn't see Pigeon look magnificent. Since the Chester Cup, in which they went no gallop, which didn't suit him, he's had a nice joyride at Hamilton Park in an amateur riders' race over 9 furlongs, ridden by Pat Muldoon's son. He absolutely hacked up that day, really enjoyed himself, and I hope that maybe that's put him right for today. John Joe feels that in previous races at Newcastle he may have been dropped out too far and asked to do too much in a short time, so possibly he will lay up in the middle division, lay up a little bit closer than Sea Pigeon has in the past. Anyway, I don't need to tell you about him. Probably, almost certainly, I'd say, the most popular horse in training, certainly would be the most popular winner with me, Mr. Pat Muldoon's Sea Pigeon, and the great champion jockey, John Joe O'Neill. And there is Vicomte pieces up on the logo, but Pollard's down, third from the right now. I think they're nearly all in. They are, in fact, so over to you, Graham.
And they're on their way for the Coral Northumberland Plate over 2 miles. And as they settle down, it's Bow Reef that goes to take up the running with Pollardstown on the outside. And Edward Hyde electing to make this a real test of stamina at the end of the first furlong. He's leading on Bow Reef. From Pollardstown second, Taffy is third, Messenger of Peace 4. Vicomte is 5 and Bill Broker 6 and Majestic Maharaj 7. Then behind Majestic Maharaj, Russian George, with on the outside of Russian George, Morvetta. It's a track by Arapaho, Sea Pigeon, Halber on the outside. Then Bank Run, and the back marker at this stage is Brave Fellow. They swing away from the stands, and Bow Reef in the lead. From in second place, just up on the outside in Pollardstown. Third is Taffy. 4 races Messenger of Peace. 5 is Vicomte, and then behind Vicomte, Majestic Maharaj and Bill Broker and Russian George and Morvetta. Then Bank Run and Arapaho, and behind Arapaho is on the outside Halber, and behind Halber is Sea Pigeon, who's being held up at this stage. Just one behind Sea Pigeon, and that's Brave Fellow. But it's still Bow Reef in the lead. From Pollardstown in second, Taffy on the rails is third, Messenger of Peace on the outer is 4. Then Vicomte is in 5th place, and just on the outside of Vicomte races Majestic Maharaj, and they're turning now into the back straight. And it's still Bow Reef in the lead from Pollardstown and Taffy. Then Messenger of Peace on the outside of Vicomte. Halber making up a little bit of ground. The back marker is still Brave Fellow, and also still towards the rear is Sea Pigeon. But it's Bow Reef in the lead. From Pollardstown in second, Taffy is third, Vicomte 4th, then in 5th place is Messenger of Peace, then Bill Broker, Majestic Maharaj and Morvetta, then Russian George trying to get on turn, so too is Halber. Sea Pigeon making up a bit of ground now, and Brave Fellow is tailed off. But it's Bow Reef in the lead by just half a length from Pollardstown on his outer in second. Then in third place on the rails is Vicomte, 4th on the outside of Vicomte, making up a little bit of ground, Messenger of Peace. Then Taffy, Majestic Maharaj, Bill Broker, and then also making a forward move just in behind these is Pollardstown. and they begin the swing out of the back straight. Also making ground is Mons Bow, and as they begin the turn out of the back straight, it's still Bow Reef in the lead from Pollardstown in second. Bow Reef the leader, Pollardstown second, as they begin this stiff uphill climb into the home straight for the Coral Northumberland Plate. And Bow Reef leading from Pollardstown in second place, then Messenger of Peace on the outside of Vicomte. Mons Bow is improving, and Sea Pigeon has made up an enormous amount of ground on the outside there. See him with John Joe O'Neill on the outside of Mons Bow as they turn into the home straight with just over 3 furlongs left to go. Bow Reef on the rails with on the outside of him Vicomte. Then behind these come Majestic Maharaj, Mons Bow, and Sea Pigeon up on the outside, going sweetly at this stage. They've just got 3 furlongs left to go, and it's now Vicomte that has come through to take it up. Vicomte, Mons Bow, then Russian George and Sea Pigeon on the outside. Just over 2 furlongs to go. Vicomte from Mons Bow, Sea Pigeon with Bill Broker putting in a determined challenge on the wide outside, just over a furlong out. And it's Sea Pigeon looming up on the wide outside from Mons Bow and Vicomte and Russian George. Bow Reef is beaten as they come inside the final furlong. It's Mons Bow now that takes it up. Mons Bow from Vicomte with Russian George coming in between these two. Sea Pigeon back in 4th place as they go well inside the final furlong. It's Mons Bow in the lead. Mons Bow from Russian George and Vicomte finishing up toward the line. Mons Bow in the lead, and at the post is the winner. Mons Bow from Russian George second, Vicomte is third. The gallant Sea Pigeon is 4th. A gap then to Pollardstown in 5th, and behind Pollardstown came Taffy, then Bill Boker, Arapaho, who never got into the race, and Morvetta, then Messenger of Peace, then Bow Reef, Majestic Maharaj, Bank Run, and the last horse to pass the post was, in fact, Helber, I say last, because really pulled up. Brave Fellow is just trailing in, and he really lost touch 2 furlongs out. But what an exciting outcome for the Coral Northumberland Plate. It's gone, I think, to Mons Bow, who stayed on in most resolute fashion in the final furlong, repelling the challengers of Russian George and Vicomte. Bow Reef was beaten. Sea Pigeon looked to be going well 2 furlongs out. But for me, it's Mons Bow, and there he is, trained down in Sussex by Giles Beeson, owned by Mr. M.L. Vine, and ridden this afternoon by Sean Salmon, who for me has won the Coral Northumberland Plate. As we can see now with 2.5 furlongs to go, just how well Mons Bow stayed on, the action described by John Oaksey.
Well, it's a heartbreaking moment at which we join them, because at this stage I thought Sea Pigeon was really still going like a winner. He's in 3rd place there, Vicomte in the white noseband over on the far rails, then Mons Bow in the red and yellow, and then Sea Pigeon, and John Joe still hadn't really asked him, but it was here that Sean Salmon asked Mons Bow, and I must say I didn't think Mons Bow had got as much acceleration as an old Ford with 4 punches, but in fact it's he who quickens, and Sea Pigeon in a moment is going to come off the bit and does not find any more. Now the thing to watch here in the last furlong or so is whether the favourite Russian George, who's behind Vicomte and Mons Bow at the moment, whether he gets squeezed for room as he goes for a gap between those two. I've no reason to believe that Mons Bow comes over on him, but as you can see, there isn't very much room between Mons Bow and Vicomte. Russian George, who had looked a big danger just earlier, might have been possibly a little bit squeezed out there, but in fact it may also be that he just couldn't quicken. You see Philip Robinson never appears to stop riding or anything like that, and there's no doubt about the courage and stamina with which Mons Bow runs this last half furlong. He's already a winner of the Ascot Stakes. He's once again showing that stamina's his long suit. Vicomte running a great race over on the far rails for Jimmy Fitzgerald, and the favourite Russian George in 2nd place, but a thoroughly worthy winner, and I've heard nothing yet of a steward's inquiry.
Nikolai just about to make his stall, not very keen to do so. Getting a bit of a heave at the moment. This horse has only been beaten once in his career, when 8th in the Epsom Derby. Half in. They're all 13 installed. The handlers move away. Here it goes, they're running. And Prince B on the near side, and Turnavos, the first two to show, from Ramian and Rankin and Cobbler's Cove on the outside. Then further wide comes Master Willie. Graben is the back marker at the moment, and Turnavos is taking him along. From Prince B, Cobbler's Cove on the outside. Then comes Ramian and Master Willie and Rankin and Nikolai, and then Pellerin. Behind Pellerin is Current Charge, and then comes Fingal's Cave with Garrido on the inside. Graben and Noble Seamus has been relegated to last. They're past the 10 furlong marker, and it's Turnavos in the lead. Turnavos from Prince B, Cobbler's Cove, then Ramian. Behind Ramian is Master Willie, then Rankin. Behind Rankin, Pellerin, then Nikolai going well. Behind Nikolai is Garrido with Current Charge on his outside, then Fingal's Cave, then Graben, then Noble Seamus, and still Turnavos striding along and making the running as they race towards the 7 furlong pole, and going very well within himself too. This Tony Murray partnered leader, Turnavos from Cobbler's Cove in second. Willie Carson is poised in third on Prince B. Just behind Prince B is Master Willie. Then comes Garrido making ground on the inside. Current Charge on the outer. Nikolai and Pellerin are close behind him, and then Rankin, then Fingal's Cave. They're racing towards the 6 furlong marker now, and still Turnavos in the lead from Cobbler's Cove. Prince B on the inside. On the outer is Master Willie. Then comes Ramian and Garrido, and Current Charge on the outside of Nikolai, who's making steady progress now. Then Rankin, Pellerin, and the last two are Garrido now, who's lost about 5 places, and Graben as they race towards the home turn. They've got 4.5 furlongs to run in the Irish Sweeps Derby. Master Willie, the favourite, going up to join Turnavos. Just in behind them